Reveille, reveille.
Look at us now, tip to tip.
Ooh, Jesus.
Do you want a margarita?
Oh, yeah, you hear that sound. You get Morning Kombat back in your absolute face hole here on Monday, September 16th, 2025. Is it 16 or 15?
Today's 15 because it's my
15.
wedding anniversary
Oh,
today.
congratulations.
Yeah.
How many we had
We
here?
have been married 13 years. We've been together 16 or 17.
I'll tell you what, I've known you for a lot of those years. These have been the best 13 years. Good Morning Kombat will be heavy on all things Crawford, Canelo. Notice you got to switch those names now. Noche UFC. And we'll take your DMs. We'll pick through my Shiat this week in this giant Netflix super fight. Terrence Crawford got it all right, but all the parties got it right for that main event on Saturday night. Being in that dome with 70,000 plus, I know it was kind of random to have half of Tool come out for a drum. Them that moment. It all built up to that. It took a while to get there, but that main event moment, because they pushed, we were in the media, not on the floor. We were way back, but we were in the stadium, and it was magical.
No one denies that they're not a challenge and that they're different and that you wouldn't want to do them very often. But to the point you raised, BC, sometimes the big fights need the right atmosphere. Especially, I'll say this, because Canelo's last fight was in Saudi Arabia, at least by the time the main event started. So I got to say, we'll talk about the broadcast, but I am very glad they put it in Allegiant. And for the most part, it looked beautiful.
You know what
on
was
Netflix.
weird? It didn't feel like a super huge fight week for most of fight week.
It did not.
Until
No.
Friday. And
Right.
I think a lot of that is that late arriving Mexican crowd comes in. Canelo, you got to give Canelo that credit. I mean, he's the superstar
He's
for a
the
reason.
star, yeah.
That dome was full. It wasn't all, it was about 85%. It was, you could hear the minority of Crawford fans, but like people were jazzed up to be part of this sort of cultural event. However big this fight will turn out to be ratings wise and all that, and obviously legacy wise for Crawford, we'll get into that. It was monumental, but I do tip the cap to those involved, even if some of those are our boy HE and some of the other.
Hey, did you see Rick Reno dressed like a pimp?
Yeah, you'll see him and have you seen this shit?
Yeah, I mean, you say nice things about him, and he seems to be a decent person. Does he think he's cool?
I don't know. I ran into him. We had a weird half-hour conversation. I get along with Rick. I've known him for, if you're in the boxing media.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. He seems like a nice guy. We don't have anything bad to say, but he seems to think he's a pimp.
No, I think he's just leaning heavily into the gimmick. I think I've heard from people that Turkey loves gave him the Versace nickname, loves
So
that
he's just leaning into it?
So he's just leaning aggressively
He looks
into
like
it.
a 9-year-old whose dad dressed him for Halloween as a pimp.
Yeah, he kind of laughed and was like, yeah.
That's
so,
the wrestling manager?
Yeah. Who was evil to begin with. But whatever, enough of that BS. LT, you streamed over the weekend?
I did a 2-hour stream for Noche, which was that the card was fine. It was good even. But the main event was a hit of the crack pipe, I got to be honest.
The main event was balls out insanity.
It was amazing. So I really enjoyed that. And we did a long broadcast, obviously, for the Canelo fight because we'll talk about it later. That Netflix card, they had booked for 42 rounds, and you got 42 fucking rounds, man. And then there's all these other pieces that went into the production that just made it. Here is my basic rule. Tell me if you disagree.
Okay. Too much Mark Wahlberg? No.
a lot of watching bored Mark Wahlberg, which I did not enjoy. No, your main event needs to start before the 4, even I would argue 3-hour mark of your start of your broadcast.
1 a.m. Eastern time's not ideal for the main event.
I didn't like that part.
Yeah, well, we'll get into all of that. Let's talk about the third member of our team. Maybe we'll even talk to him. He's a bong enthusiast, of course, and a streamer himself. Live and direct from the undercarriage of an Australian, it's Luke Nocita of the Main Card Minute. Hey, Luke.
What up, boys? How was your weekend?
Are we having stream issues?
Yeah, something's buffering back here. We got the engineers working on it.
Buffering more like Michael or Bruce?
It's definitely more of a Bruce vibe back here. Yeah.
By the way, Long Island, did you see Bruce and GN Lord?
Yes.
They were almost effing without touching each other,
Dude,
right?
He did the same thing with his girlfriend before. He had
that was creepy,
intense ass stare down. And did you see their matching outfits too?
Yeah,
they were,
dude, you can tell he's a close talker at parties, and I don't like people like that,
For sure.
That's how we warm up for every show, though. People don't know that about us, all right? They're like, why don't you guys just bang? We almost did, all right? Are people watching this show live right now, or are we talking to ourselves?
Yeah, things are happening. It's going in and out, so it's live, but, we're dealing with shit, guys. We're working.
Just like your college years, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Network issues.
Oh, boy. Maybe we'll just chill here for a minute. Hey, let's tell you about following and liking the show. If you can hear us right now, if you can see us, you can like. Look, it goes a long way, especially listeners doing the grocery shopping for your wife. Look, how many, to be honest here, how many wives do you think watch this show every week? How many females? How many? Do you think it's like 6, or do you think it's like
Got to be less than 10.
Okay, so you don't even think it's like 446?
No,
it's like
no. How many wives watch this show? Yeah, not many.
Not many. Also,
Dude, even our wives don't watch the show.
Thankfully, so
Yes, thank
thankfully
God.
so. Let's also tell you about our merch house over there at morningcombat.shop, and we've got some September exclusives that are still available, but they won't be for long. So whether you want to get the Black Liver Society set up here, brought to us by Average Joe Art, you can get the hoodie as well, or the Cracker Barrel LTMK shirt, or how about these? I got to say, for all the posters, all the signed posters we've done, the white TMNT poster is probably the most spectacular in person when you have it in your hands. It looks very good, suitable for framing. Check it out. Those are our exclusives at morningcombat.shop. There are evergreen products that'll be here forever. You can mix and match the colors, outfit yours. Okay. I mean, it's going to be holiday season coming up, right?
Did you pound one out in the hotel yesterday?
This is what are we, like, luckily we're having streaming issues, but, wow. Okay. Thank you, Johnny Sin. There you go.
I think it's sins, by the way.
Many sins as a kid, indeed. Long and Luke, are we live yet, or are we still?
No, I see the brain trust out there. They're great. They're doing
we got people on the phone. We're working on it.
Where's Ken and Nadir when we need them? All right.
high as balls.
Yes, they are. All right. So I guess we're gonna just sit here and circle around the bowl for a minute. Luke, did you have any travel issues, or were you okay?
I had to switch flights on Friday due to some programming stuff. So then my flight home was I didn't have a direct. I had to have a layover in Dallas, and there was a dude behind me, like right behind me on the flight from Las Vegas.
And you never do layovers, right?
I hate layovers, but I mean I'll do them like when I have to, which I had to in this case. So the flight from Las Vegas to Dallas, there was a guy behind me. And he was like, "Are you Luke Thomas?" And I was like, "Yes." But he like bumped me, like tapped me right when the stewardesses are doing the dropping of the bag. And she actually goes, "Excuse me, sir." And I'm like, "Yeah." And she goes, and she didn't even say what. She goes, like this.
Oh wow.
And I go, and I look at her and I go, and
you're like, "Bitch."
She's like, "We're talking."
Be a bitch.
And I was like, "Lady, do you think I didn't say this, but in my head I was like, lady, do you think I give a fuck if you live or die, much less if you're talking? I've been on 8,000 flights. I know what the fuck to do in the event of an emergency. Shut your mouth."
Wow.
I didn't say that.
Okay,
I was very respectful. And then on the next flight home, I'm waiting. We're the only flight in National Airport.
Yeah.
And we're waiting for the bags to come through. And I finally pick up my bags and I'm leaving. And some guy taps me on the shoulder. He's got big ass cauliflower ears. And he goes, "Love your work, bro." And I was like, "Shit, what the fuck is happening here?"
Okay.
So we waited. I had to wait for my Uber. This was easily 2 a.m.
And your Uber driver knew you.
No, my Uber driver also did not care if I lived or died based on the way he was driving. But we talked for a good long while. He was a black belt out of like Stafford, Virginia, and he was a good dude.
Does he know Ryan? What's his name?
Ryan Hall?
Yeah.
He might. I mean, I don't know. I mean, oh no, he knew another guy that we know. Shouts to High Noon BJJ. In Alexandria, Virginia, I believe. Tim Dawson is the coach out there. He knew Tim Dawson, so
all right,
yeah, cool
How
stuff.
come they're not called senseis in jiu-jitsu?
Probably because it's Brazilian and they didn't import the tradition. I don't know.
Yeah, but
their traditions, they call them professor, whatever the Portuguese term is for professor.
Oh, right, because our boy Chef Cass from Las Vegas is Professor Vigilante.
That's right. And they call the schools academies.
In his capoeira.
Yeah, they call them academies. So I guess
Would you ever do capoeira?
You have to be athletic to do capoeira. And I have trouble getting out of bed.
Yeah. That's a good point. I'm really lamenting the fact that I have to bring this giant suitcase on the subway with me.
Why don't you just burn it? Just leave it here and throw it away or burn it. There's nothing in there of value. You know that, right?
A lot of used clothing in there. Yeah, that's about it.
Gently used clothing.
Very gently used. Long Island Luke, we're just hanging right now. We're literally just floating in the ether. We're building a mystery, McLaughlin style.
In the event that you did pound one out in the hotel, what would it be to?
Wow. Disclosure starring Demi Moore and Michael Douglas. No,
do we want to just get started? I don't know what we want to do here.
Yeah, I think we're good, guys.
All right, we're gonna have a show after all. There we go. We're back at it. Let's do it.
Give him a second to get ready to do
recalibrate
the slides,
here.
yeah.
Let's get our professional faces back on and put the camera on me. Topic number 1. Here we go. It happened in Las Vegas. It was the super fight, the undisputed super middleweight championship on the line as Terrence Crawford moving up officially 2 weight divisions, 3 if you want to go back just 2 years ago, when he unified welterweight titles against Errol Spence in a breakthrough performance. Well, put that one in the rear view because we've got another one that's even bigger. Terrence Crawford did the thing, a unanimous decision win over Canelo Alvarez. It was on Netflix, the first combat sports event inside Allegiant Stadium. You had UFC working with Turkey. A lot to get into on this, and we will systematically. But Luke, we know Terrence Crawford scored the big victory, becoming the first male boxer to be undisputed now in 3 weight divisions, just 2 weeks out from his 38th birthday. Beyond the context of Crawford's victory, what can we say about why or how he was able to get the job done? And what can we say about really what it means to be able to get this win, to reach this significant milestone? Because he was so late getting the flowers that we knew his greatness could produce, because he was so late in his career to get these matchups. But to now line up Spence, Madrimov, and Canelo, 5-division champion. Dude, he is he. Sorry, H-E. Sorry, Turk. H-E now, H-I-M. Hims.com. Terrence Crawford, bro.
I don't know what the question was there. Do you start that one over again?
Wow.
How did we get here?
How did he do it when, to get all serious, the real narrative was the size difference. There was no size difference. So it came down to skill. How, in your eyes, was Terrence Crawford able to pull off something that I just didn't see it happening this easily?
Well, I do think there still was something of a size difference, in the sense that it looked to me like Crawford's punches landed and had effect, but were not especially pronounced at this weight class relative to the durability of Canelo. It looked like he lost a little something moving up in that sense. However, BC, he took whatever punches that were scored pretty well. But the answer to the question, BC, is I went, I watched it in real time, and I like doing those watch-alongs, but if I can be honest, I missed something along the way.
Yeah.
I can't quite absorb the fight in its true sense as a consequence. So I've gone back and rewatched it in preparation for some additional content. And, dude, this was magisterial from Terrence.
Brilliant.
I think the first thing I want to say is, number one, the defensive effort from Bud was extraordinary.
In close range, for shots that Canelo normally lands, just shutting down every door of opportunity.
Dude, he got hit less in this fight than he did in the Madrimov fight, considerably so. And including in ways where even if it was like a numerically the same amount, it was demonstrably, in terms of how they moved him, much less. But let's talk about the effort. BC, first of all, he comes out in southpaw. Why was this so relevant? Because it would shut down the jab hand of Canelo. Canelo, not a huge jabber, but he is a pretty consistent one. I went back and I looked at the numbers, BC, for his fight with Berlanga versus this one. What is the most amount of jabs Canelo landed in any round in this fight? The most. He never got more than this, and in fact, he only got it once. What's the most?
9.
3. 3 jabs is the most
that's
he
what
ever got.
That's what a southpaw stance, if you can control the terms,
That's
does.
right.
He
So-
had to go to the right to the body as essentially his jab, just to stay punch numbers wise in that fight.
That's right. So he was able to shut down, or at a bare minimum, very much minimize the jab hand. And so as a consequence, you know that most of the attacks are going to come either from that left hook that he was ready for or that right hand. And he had just the right defense every time. BC, the lateral movement and the turning of Canelo, he never got stuck in the corner. He never got stuck on the ropes. He was constantly, how many times did you see Canelo leave his feet to try and find Crawford with a punch? Because the guy is constantly circling out, which of course is a function of many things, including but not limited to lead outside foot position, which he was very, very good at maintaining. And then also, BC, his ability to adapt on the fly. You'll notice a lot of times what he tries to do is find an answer for that hook to the body. And at first he would catch it and then shoot. But then later he realized, I'm just going to catch and then go with the left hand, which Canelo's not ready for, and then follow up with the swivel jab on the other side. So he's making, they knew he was going to go to it. They made him reach for it. His positioning was perfect. His choice of stance was exactly ideal. So his offense, to me, was not overwhelming. I don't think you can look at this fight and say, wow, he really beat the shit out of Canelo.
No.
He outboxed Canelo, but his offense was potent enough, particularly with those flurries, boxing in combination. Again, Canelo can really never get out of first or second gear for the most part. Dude, we use this word a lot, and I feel like it's lost some of the value as a consequence of its ubiquity, but this was a masterclass, dude. This was one guy with outrageous skill offensively and defensively, simply making another very good fighter look lesser than.
And what I love about it even more, I do agree it was a masterclass. I do agree it was absolutely brilliant. But he met real opposition here. Like, I'm actually a little offended at how much people are sort of dumping on Canelo. And we'll get a little bit deeper into Canelo after this. But, like, Canelo, like, fought the best he could against a guy who came out in southpaw, never was forced out of it, and, you know, had success in the middle rounds. You know what the most impressive thing here for Crawford is? That the middle round surge came from Canelo, where he started to figure out how to hit him with the lead right hand, and he started to actually figure out how to set up combinations that would end with a right cross, and he connected on a few of those, and Bud went nowhere, and Bud adjusted out of that. And so it wasn't just Bud outboxed him. And by the way, it was crazy that he looked the same size or bigger at times in the ring with him. But it was that when it was time to fight, Bud dug in and was out fighting him. And a lot of that was this incredible inside defense. A lot of that was the speed advantage so he could pick up on the right cross coming and counter with that left hand. But I didn't necessarily know he was going to stand in there, even though we know he put on the added weight, even though he did it systematically over 2 years, even though they said a lot coming into this fight. When we knew at some point this fight would turn into a fight, I could not believe how much Bud was able to control the terms of that infighting. You know what I mean? Took the shots that he had to and were able to turn it around. And I know sometimes when one guy is just blowing you away at what he's doing, it can be easy to feel like, you know, oh, he must be winning 10 rounds to 2 or something. He wasn't. This was a close fight. Canelo outlanded him in 6 of the rounds. Like there was a lot that made this close. I think entering the championship rounds, a lot of us, including the 3 judges, had it relatively close. But it was the way that Bud closed the show in the championship rounds that left no doubt, did not open up the door for a backdoor robbery, even though 2 of the judges had it 7 rounds to 5 and not everybody loved it. I had it 8-4, which is I predicted Canelo would win 8-4. Turns out Bud did it on the flip. But to meet Canelo's rally head on and then to close as the stronger fighter to the point where Canelo almost looked not resigned with losing, but at the end it was sort of like, what else could I have done? I'm not sure what else he could have done. The most incredible part of this, on top of all the history Bud made, on top of how much he just blew us away, was that he's 2 weeks out from his 38th birthday, and he made this look easy. Luke, is this actually the prime of Bud Crawford right now? I mean, it's hard to say because when he was in his quote-unquote physical prime, he wasn't getting the type of opponents that could really show us. But you hear the great ones say that you need a great one across from you to bring out your greatness. That's why I don't want people to dunk on Canelo here. He gave the best of what 35-year-old Canelo could 20 years into his career. But that best brought an even deeper level of greatness out of Bud. Basically a 38-year-old Bud might be doing the best work of his Hall of Fame career right now. That's not crazy to say.
It's not crazy to say. I think that I don't know where he is physically in terms of his prime, although as we mentioned, he was certainly ready for the physical challenges at 68. But I think what I would say, BC, is maybe in terms of the technical challenge, he's clearly a step ahead of his contemporaries. Like, dude, you know what really blows my mind about Bud? He got hit a few times, as you mentioned, particularly in that round 5. That was the first, like, I thought pretty decent round for Canelo, you know? Although I thought some of the early rounds were close to the point where I thought Vegas could whore Bud. And in fact, that did happen a little bit along the way.
I did see that, like, Skipper Kelp, who was the on-screen scorer, and Dan Rayfield both had Canelo up 4-0, which I had.
No. Skipper had
he had Bud up 4-0. Okay, I saw like some people had. It was a little wild, but I guess doesn't that speak to it was close early on? It was
certainly
tactical.
Yes, it was certainly close and tactical. Upon review, it's pretty clear to me that Bud won them.
I had Bud up 3-1 at that point.
But in real time, dude, Canelo just has this way of snake charming the judges, and I think there was something to be said for that. Although by the time the 12th round finished, it was like there's no question.
How did you score it? Just so we know.
I think I also had it 8-4 as well for Bud, and maybe I could even I could even go 9-3 if.
And
you
there could be 8-4s and 9-3s that look more dominant.
Yes.
Like, this was a competitive fight until it kind of wasn't.
I think Bivol beat Canelo 9-3. And in
75 on all 3 scorecards.
Is that right?
Even though visually we saw it. We saw
I think I had
9-3.
that one 9-3.
Yeah.
And in part because Bivol did beat Canelo up a little bit in that
on the
one.
ropes too.
Yes.
Just beat him up.
Which is something that you never really saw Bud do. One of the questions Sean Porter asked was, could Bud really back him up? There were times he could do it, but Bud didn't win this fight by force. Bud basically meant Canelo, he made him go wide. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
He had to go wide on the hooks and then wide with the overhand. And he kind of kept the inside space and then used that to flurry, back him up, score a hook and turn, right? All the things you would need to do. And Canelo, to your point, I think right after round 9, it looked to me like, I think Canelo had a decent round 10 or 11. But basically after round 9, he just looked at that and was like, I don't have any other answers.
I think 10 was the only one I gave him out of the final 4. I definitely gave Bud the last 2, as did all 3 judges.
Yeah.
I think it was really, so I think the 5th round was Canelo's big comeback.
Yes.
But there was a moment in the 6th where the back and forth exchanging in the middle of the ring started to happen. And if you notice, Crawford landed a big punch, his biggest of the fight, and he followed it up with like an 8-punch combination.
Yes.
It was as if the window was there to go for it. And even though it didn't lead to a knockdown, didn't lead to a knockout, I wonder if the psychological edge changed right there, where Canelo was like, I cannot back this guy up. I cannot keep this guy off.
But dude, what I love about watching Bud Crawford fights, man, is when you go through them a second time or third time or whatever, is how many little details you see. So one of the things that really caught my attention was where he puts his gloves. There are times he'll cover half of his face. Then there's times it's a quarter face. Then there's times where his hand fully covers his ear. And he seems to know exactly where he needs to put it, not just because he's anticipating what Canelo's going to throw, but because he's also on the move and he has to sort of be reactive. He had precise details like that. He would wait for Canelo's overhand and step past it and then pop him on the counter, which is like so hard to do.
Dude, that one video that keeps going around of that duck and left hand cross.
Yes, he gets exactly.
Canelo's chin just like, holy shit.
I think Canelo was, because dude, this was the other part. I've seen Canelo reach a lot, but I've never seen Canelo reach this much ineffectively, where he has to bring his back foot with him in order to find the guy with his back arm, and still missing as a consequence. So Bud was able to kind of, with that lead hand fighting, he's establishing distance, he's shutting down the jab, he's helping himself turn, and he's occupying the rhythm and changing the rhythm so that he can't get started. And it made Canelo desperate, which then Bud feasted on after that. This is why, to me, I know there are MMA fans. If you like only boxing, cool. If you like both MMA and boxing like we do, cool.
And if you like both,
that's even better. That's the top. That's the top tier.
Yeah.
But if you also just like boxing and MMA is not for you, it's no big deal. But the people who watch MMA and then try to watch boxing through an MMA lens, I don't know what to tell you. You sound a little dumb, and irrespective of that, you're actually missing the point. There is very little in MMA. It happens. It can happen. But the kind of specific details and the depth of the technical ability in general, and especially in this fight, far surpasses even what you can get at the highest level of MMA, because they don't have that level of skill. They've got a wider skill set, but they don't have a specific skill set to that degree. And the little tiny details, what I'm going to try and explain to you, Donks, is it calls upon something else within your fandom. Do we love a hit of the crack pipe, BC? Lord knows we get Hunter Biden when Jayon Silva and Diego Lopes are killing each other. Freaking love it. But it calls upon something different when you master craftsman. There is no equivalent in MMA to Bud Crawford, because there cannot be.
Sometimes there's technical thrillers, but then, people like to think it didn't happen and it was boring as shit. This was the highest level of skill. I mean, to be fair, that left cross that Bud hit on Canelo, that probably drops or knocks out every other fighter. Canelo's chin being that absurd to move with that.
We'll talk about Kellerman's broadcasting performance, but one thing he definitely did get right was he was saying that punch was destroying Errol Spence, where he was catching him with his own left coming in off the jab, and it's true.
And then
it destroyed
on the flip
him.
side, when we talk about the little things, I felt like in the first half of the fight, Crawford was willing to give up the body to a murderous body puncher. Now, to be fair, Crawford's movement didn't allow Canelo to really sit down and set up the left hook. So when he really gets people hurt and gets them out of there, like he did to Rocky Fielding, where he just brutalized the body. but I almost felt like Crawford had to no-sell any body attack in order to be able to stay close enough to get off his offense, and it was brilliant. He had the high guard so locked up, working from southpaw, so it took away Canelo's jab, as you mentioned. Canelo really had to rely on either a lead right that he would slip in up high or just tapping to the body and almost using it as a jab. But anytime Canelo did get off with a body shot, Bud just no-sold it and kept flowing. Not every fighter is going to be able to do that either against somebody of Canelo's power and ability right there. Across the board in every category, Bud was like a 10 out of 10 on Saturday.
Bud was better everywhere. There was nowhere he was better.
Let's listen to Bud talk about the victory. Here's Bud after the fight.
To be honest, when I set my sights on doing something and what I'm capable of, it's not like a surprise to me. It's a surprise to y'all because y'all didn't believe me, you know, but for me, that I could do it. I just needed the opportunity.
Terrence, when did you know that you were going to beat him over here on your left?
When he signed the contract.
I want your opinion on which you became a 5-division world champion. You became the 3rd of 4-division lineal champion with Mayweather and Pacquiao. You became a 3-time undisputed champion, the first ever in the 2, 3, or 4 belt era. And you became the 2nd undisputed champion in 3 weight classes when there was only 1 champion back in 1938 with Henry Armstrong. That's a lot of stuff.
You hear that? You hear that?
Which do you think means
all
the most?
And all of it. It all goes hand in hand.
Can you describe what?
You know, anybody can be a nobody, like I said. You know, and that's all they say I've been fighting is nobodies. So what can they say? Any words? Thanks. I bet you did.
Beat Canelo 3 divisions higher, 2 weeks shy of 38.
It's insane.
Are you fucking kidding me? This is what we're talking about. So, Luke, I almost feel like I have to apologize to Bud. Look, in the last 2 years, trying to come to terms with how one-sided the Spence victory was. I have to say, as somebody who followed Spence's career the entire way, was a part of some of the, Showtime pay-per-views that led up to his biggest fights or the work I did on Fox before that, I knew how good Spence was, even with the accident, even with him being at an advanced age and cutting down to 47. I just convinced myself that a lot of that victory was Terrence's greatness, but a certain percentage of it was Spence could no longer make that weight, the accident, the this, the that. I feel like this Canelo performance erases that and just says Bud was that much than all the great welterweights of his era because he fought an unbeaten Spence who had gone through everyone. Do you feel that same way? That it almost successfully rewrites that history 2 years ago and shows you that if he could do this against this Canelo right now, 3 divisions higher, he could have done that against anyone when he was on the wrong side of the street in his prime, not getting the fights that he deserved.
I will tell you, I don't feel that way, but because what Bud did against. Remember the story, right? So we have the guy here who did it when we were working for Showtime at the time, and I was used to doing previews for them, like the breakdowns and whatnot. And they give us a lot of. I mean, I don't think they were being dicks. They just didn't. I don't know what happened. They just didn't give us a lot. So I went back to Showtime and I was like, hey, I can't really make this work. They're like, all right, well, they didn't just do a Spence one. People were killing me at the time. Like, why didn't you do a Bud preview? We tried. We couldn't get any footage. But anyway, Brook fight and the Algieri fight and the Porter
for
fight.
Spence, yes.
Yeah, and Ugas and everything. And I was like, man, I know Bud is good, but like, man, the tape on Spence is absurd. And then Bud just dropped where Spence came in with the huge overhand left, and Bud had to roll with it in order to land the counter. So my point being is my eyes were so wide open after that I didn't feel that way. The only question was later, now we're 3 weight classes up. I mean, this is a different kettle of fish until it just wasn't. Dude, Bud is, is better than Mayweather, but at a bare minimum, that's the most technically gifted boxer I've seen since then, and I know it in my bones that is true.
As we get a little closer to talking about this in historical context, year-old Bud Crawford, here's Canelo comparing the two.
In the world of comparisons that we live in right now, if you can, compare and contrast the fight between yourself and Floyd Mayweather Jr. and tonight's bout with Terrence Bud.
Wow.
Way better. Way better.
Now, to be fair to Floyd, he obviously had hand problems in his whole welterweight run, and it's why he took that long stretch off in 2007, 2008, 2009 area, and Floyd's brilliance to be able to be just as great in some ways at that age. Like, we're not here trying to dunk on Floyd, but this does, from the idea of is Bud the GOAT of the era? Max Kellerman said that when you close, although his career doesn't look to be fully done, we'll talk about that. But when
Which is funny to
when
me.
you close your career with these type of wins, like right now, straight up, Luke, you could say that there's not a welterweight, junior middleweight, or maybe even super middleweight. And I say maybe even just because could Benavidez come back down and make 68? I don't know. But when you could say over like a 4-division stretch and say, Bud, cut down to any of these weights, that there's not another guy in the world that can beat you right now, that's Mayweather level, okay? That's Mayweather level right now. But in your eyes, is it fair to make him the fighter of this era? So what does that define? To me, this is the post-Mayweather-Pacquiao era, meaning 2015, they fought each other. That sort of ended the era, even though both fought a couple times more in some forms, right? We all thought it was the Canelo era after that. But if we're really looking at what this fight represented in terms of what's at stake, separate from the 3 undisputed, it was kind of like 2 guys fighting for the era, okay? This era, though, to be fair, also has Naoya Inoue, who won on Sunday in another big win. It has Alexander Usyk, who has one of the most unique historic runs of all time. Is it fair to say first, just in the post-Mayweather-Pacquiao era, that Bud secured on Saturday night that he's the best of the last 10 years of this run right now?
I think so. Now
that's tough on Usyk, but
that's tough on Usyk. For Inoue, to me, the strength of schedule of Bud is better to the point where, yes, he's clearly out of Inoue. The Usyk one is harder because Usyk is, I mean, someone was asking me, so what really is the difference between Usyk and Bud? Part of the issue, but tell me if you disagree. Now, when he went through cruiserweight, Usyk, he went through a very good crop.
He went through like a historically deep section. They were all unbeaten, and he beat them all in succession.
But the problem is going from cruiserweight to heavyweight is that while he's having to give up these enormous weight advantages and he's beating these big figures, it loses something because, for example, if he unified at Bridger weight, which would be in between, would anyone care? No. Would it mean anything? Whereas with Bud, you've got these storied divisions in between. So there's just much more material for him to be able to use usefully in that case.
It's a very close debate either way.
Yes, him and Usyk, to me, that's the real debate.
Yeah, that is the real debate. But the sexier thing now is to say, because to me, before the Mayweather-Pacquiao era, it was the Roy Jones era. And he was undoubtedly the best fighter.
That was the guy.
Through the quality of the end of the 90s into those first couple of years of the 2000s. So is it fair, even though Bud became a global star, even though Bud got the matchups, like, look, seriously, if you ask what are Bud's best wins, you're going to mostly focus on the last third of his career. The Sean Porter win when he finally got an elite welterweight against him. Obviously the Spence, Madrimov, and now Canelo run right here. Obviously, it's not like he didn't beat anybody. He's a 5-division champion. Like Jeff Horn was unbeaten when he took the title from him. But because it took the type of names on his resume that would even put him in this category, and we're comparing him to Floyd and Manny, who have such a firm hold of history of this 50-0 to being the biggest star financially that we've ever seen, to Pacquiao winning titles in 8 divisions. And, oh, by the way, he's still going. He just fought Barrios at 46 and almost won another world title. So is there any way we can possibly say that Bud has eclipsed both of those in historical relevance, or is this too much of a gray area? Because it might be one thing to say head-to-head at their welterweight primes versus Floyd. I don't know. I feel like a lot of us might actually be picking Bud right now. He's longer. He switches stances. He does, there's certain things. But what he achieved, I cannot put him above Mayweather or Pacquiao because he got these opportunities so late, even though it's insanely impressive.
Well, wasn't Pacquiao like an 8-division or 9-division?
He was an 8-division champion, and the run, like Mayweather, the run of Hall of Fame.
So where they stack up all time relative to one another complicates the debate. What I will say is I find Bud to be as defensively sound as I've ever seen a fighter, ways in which he can find you. He can find you. That's the problem, dude. There's nowhere to hide with him. He can find you. It's really, he can find you backing up. He can find you going forward. He can find you side to side. Like, that's a tough guy to beat.
Like Floyd, he has such control over the terms in there. It's just insane. Let's hear Bud talk about, by the way, the power, because it's not like he took nothing from Canelo. Yeah. And he took it very well. Here's Bud talking about that power.
By anybody that strong before?
I've been hit harder.
No, in a real fight, not a sparring.
In a real fight. Avanesian, I mean, not Avanesian, but Mean Machine hit harder than Canelo to me, to be honest.
Now, to be fair, he
tell the folks about Mean Machine.
He just Kavaliauskas, Mean Machine, the Lithuanian welterweight. So if you say Bud's technically never been knocked down, but he got knocked down by Mean Machine. The referee missed the call. He called it a slip. It wasn't. That's crazy. Now, Mean Machine's a big, hulking, muscular guy and was a hard puncher. Does that mean that Canelo doesn't hit as hard, or that Bud's swiveling and all that?
What weight class did he fight Mean
Fought
Machine?
him at welterweight, 147.
147.
And after getting knocked down, like a lot of Bud fights, turned it into kick your ass mode, you know?
Yeah, and then the thing to me about that is like how you felt at 47 and the relative power advantage that Mean Machine had there.
Punch resistance,
doesn't mean that like at 68 Canelo doesn't hit harder. It just means your body settled into it better. Also, Bud's style to me in that fight, because I didn't watch the whole thing, but I went back on some highlights. He was a little bit more open in that fight. A little bit more.
I don't think he thought Mean Machine was going to be anything, and then maybe got a little surprised.
Yes, that's right.
Was not surprised here. I mean, look, you got to give Brian McIntyre, his trainer, so much credit. Give Bud so much credit. This wasn't a fight they stumbled into. It's almost a fight they built 2 years to get to.
I have had such a hard time with Bomac's genius because I bought one of his, I told you about this, I bought his tutorial on the jab.
Yeah.
I want to be very clear. It's the worst tutorial I've ever seen.
Did he have the family-sized Cheetos bag, or is that insensitive of me to bring that up?
He does it with Jamel Herring, and they talk about the jab. The explanations for what he's trying to show are uniquely terrible. You would learn nothing.
For the record,
watching it.
Bomac was a pro heavyweight. He was a journeyman. He has a losing record, but like, I don't know how much of this genius is Bud compared to that. We've seen that before. We've seen certain great elite fighters that have a trainer, and suddenly the trainer gets a lot of respect, and then the trainer coaches others and doesn't go on to the same level. Bomac does coach a lot of big name fighters, right? Is he Keyshawn Davis's trainer as well?
I'm not sure.
I believe he is. So I think he's, that video or not, you got to give him the flowers and that respect. Here's a final thing on Bud here. It's this whole Floyd comparison. See response from Bud, having his moment at the post-fight press conference when people are going to bring up these obvious comparisons to the guys that came before you.
Everyone is going to start making Floyd Mayweather. How do you feel you compare with Floyd with the resume you have now?
Listen, Floyd was the greatest in his era. I'm the greatest in my era. It ain't no need to compare me to Floyd or Floyd to me.
You talk the talk and you sure walk the walk. Your confidence and aura is on another level. Could we see a run as a light heavyweight?
Nah. Nah, we ain't going out that much.
Now.
So first of all, it should be us, people like us debating this legacy stuff. I like that he's like, I'm not getting into this. I respect Floyd.
I agree. Yeah.
Separate that. To close on him is what is next? What could be next? You heard him like laugh and say, no, not light heavyweight. They would also ask at the presser, would you fight Benavidez? And Bomac was like, no. And then they're like, well, Turkey just tweeted what happens if Benavidez could make 68, and they were like non-committal. Later, when Bud went on the Sports Center set with Stephen A. Smith, he was asked about coming back. And at first, remember, in the ring, Bud told Max Kellerman, like, I don't know. I got to pray. I got to talk to my family. I don't know if I'm going to continue. Bud did seem like he was willing to go to middleweight. Now, there's no names at middleweight. That's the issue. But he never did win a title at 160. He has one title at 54.
Isn't Janibek at middleweight?
Janibek. I mean, look, this is a very weak time for it. Adames has a belt. Janibek has a couple belts. But this is obviously a very weak time in that division's history. Do you think it would make sense, whether it was cutting down to 54, which he said he won't do again? He said he won't cut to 54, but there are good names there. There's Virgil Ortiz. There's Boots Ennis. What if somebody becomes an undisputed champion there and he gets that? Or what if he just says, let's try to unify all these belts at 60? Is it worth it for him to come back at this point? Do you think we'll see Bud Crawford, who doesn't seem to be motivated by money? And Akim Brock told me that he made $50 million for this fight. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't buy he made $10 million even a little bit.
So let's say he made 50,
wrong.
which is generational, life-changing money. Will we see Terrence Crawford again?
Before the fight, I thought the answer was certainly yes, because about a year ago, maybe not even, I interviewed Bomac, his trainer, and I asked Bomac, like, what happens if you beat Canelo? He's like, yeah, we're done after that. That's all we care about. That's all we want. Once that's done, and he even asked, like, what's left after that? Who cares? And then they were not exactly saying that on Saturday, BC. And I think, one thing that Bud said was, now I'm the face of boxing. Now I'm the guy, which I do believe to be true. He took it by force.
He did take it by force.
He took it by force. No one gave it to him. He took it by force. So once that happens, a new world of possibilities opens. So I'm going to say yes, I think you do. Now, how far past this? It's got to be, 2 or less fights. He's not going to be fighting till he's 40. I just don't believe that.
But if he can add a 6th division title, which only Oscar De La Hoya and Manny Pacquiao have done.
Yeah.
Pacquiao has 8, Oscar has 6. And potentially go undisputed if there's that opportunity.
At 60? I mean, that would be absolutely fucking insane. But
I wonder. Okay, to close, I keep saying to close, but to really close, a lot of people online blaming Bob Arum and Top Rank for not maximizing the opportunity. Now, to be fair to Bob Arum and Top Rank, what they said negatively about Bud when their union came to an end a couple years ago, they said, look, we can't sell this guy. We paid him this money. We put him in pay-per-views. It didn't sell. Now, these pay-per-views were against aftermarket Kell Brook and aftermarket Amir Khan. Like, there just wasn't the names. They got Sean Porter only because Al Heyman and PBC seemed to be okay and allow that. Do you look back and say that Top Rank missed it? Or, like, to be fair, Bud was not a star back then. He didn't carry himself like a star. He wasn't a good interview. He wasn't a great self-promoter. He was just a great fighter. Did they miss out on the boat of still being a part of this ride and getting him into those fights? Because to be fair, even though Floyd and Oscar came up and won titles under commercially what they became until they left him, to be fair.
I mean, to your point, De La Hoya had to leave Bob.
I mean, De La Hoya was a star first. The Trinidad fight was under Bob. Like,
okay,
I'm not taking that away
fine.
from
But he eventually left him to do other big things. Floyd definitely left Bob to become big things. And sure enough, so did Terrence. So, I mean, there seems to be some kind of a common denominator here. The thing that I come back to, though, is like at the time Bob was making those calls, they did not seem particularly irrational to me. Bud wasn't Bud back then. And not the person you understand now. It just didn't really happen. So could Bob have done a better job? I'm sure that you can make the argument, but it wasn't exactly clear who to do. I mean, listen, I make this point all the time. Dude, think about how much money the NFL, and in particular NFL teams, spend on talent scouting and the combine and who they're going to draft and what place they're going to draft him. And some guys don't get drafted till, dude, Tom Brady. Did anyone think Tom Brady was going to be Tom Brady when he got drafted?
Right.
Whatever the fuck. I mean, borderline Mr. Irrelevant when he got drafted. Nobody knew. Some people don't work well within the scouting, talent, star identification process.
Yeah, you and I are two of them.
Yeah, we don't fit the mold very easily. And I mean, forget us, but neither did Bud.
We don't have Cop's agent because that guy is on TV every minute.
I need an agent who can overlook the things I'm bad at, like his agent does. But okay, the point I'm trying to make is he didn't fit that. He didn't fit that. So, like, it's going to be hard to break out. But clearly, what we can all agree on now is a lot was missed. And whoever's fault that is, you can decide.
Well, look, we can all debate whether this union between UFC and Turkey is going to work, whether they can actually take over boxing, whether we want them to, Ali Act, blah, 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 blah. I don't want to be in a situation moving forward where someone as great as Bud is on the wrong side of the street and misses the big matchups in his prime, because somebody this great should have to prove that, even though his resume is very good, but it is what it is. Quickly, let me tell you something here. I'm going to tell you about the story of where tequila began, because now is a good time to remember tequila's truly origin story. You ready for this? In 1795, Cuervo invented tequila. And since then, Cuervo has stayed true to its roots. Same family, same land, even bigger, the same passion. Yes, 230 years later, Cuervo is still here in every pour, in every margarita, in every celebration. So enjoy the tequila that started it all, Cuervo, the tequila that invented tequila. ProximoCuervo.com. Please drink responsibly. And Luke, pregame preview 320 coming up for UFC and us here at Morning Kombat.
That's right.
I'm looking forward. Who do you want in that chair? Who do you want in that chair?
Angela White.
There we go. There it is again. There it is again. All right, let's transition to topic number 2, but we're going to stay in the boxing ring. Let's talk about Canelo. Let's talk about the biggest star of this era, taking the baton from Floyd Mayweather without question. Some boxing fans online, observers, they want to argue that Canelo took this loss to Terrence Crawford professionally, but possibly too willingly. Luke, do you agree with this? And if so, what does that mean for Canelo's future? Did the years of lesser opponents, and you'd been a big advocate for pointing that out, I've been saying he's been coasting, we've all been saying it, Munguia, Berlanga, these type of matchmaking, even Jermell Charlo, who didn't come to play in their big moment. Did that lead up to this catching up with Canelo? Do you feel Canelo was too willing to accept defeat, even though he put his hand up after the bell in the 12th round and people criticized him? It was a closer fight than maybe your eyes tell you. It was a competitive fight until it wasn't. But what do you make of how we should be looking at Canelo coming off of this defeat?
To me, this was proof of what we've kind of known. People are like, oh, the reason why he performed lesser than in this fight is because he's been taking lesser than fights, and that dulled the sharpness of his blade.
Yet he has been consistent in
Yeah,
fighting.
I don't buy
where
that
Bud
argument.
has only fought twice in a couple of years and looks tremendous, which is rare. That's rare.
I don't buy that theory. My theory is he took those lesser than fights because he had a keen self-awareness of his own decline. Because the reality is he not only took these bullshit ass fights. Remember, he expressly dodged and ducked David Benavidez.
You're like, I have no sympathy for him.
Well, it's not about having sympathy. It's like he didn't get lesser than because he didn't take, like, in other words, in a different world where he fights Benavidez and he fights these other tougher guys, he would still be sharper as a consequence. And I just don't believe that. I think he knew he was on the down. Dude, like it's the same with John Jones. The very best fighters, the very best athletes, the really, really good ones, they know their body and they know their level and they know what they're capable of. And to me, they were both trying, in John's case, as well as Canelo's case, they were trying to manage decline, which, as you understand, is fine, except for when they hold the belts. In both cases, that was the problem. Yes. And in fact, we're going to talk about this because people are asking, like, what's next for Canelo? It might be Jake Paul.
It really might.
It might be Jake Paul. But he doesn't have a belt, so it's like, who's he holding up? He's not holding up anything at this point. But getting back to Canelo, this was to me when he could no longer hide that he has been in decline. It's not a huge decline.
But
he hasn't fallen off a cliff.
You're right. I don't think he lost because he was old. I don't think he was struggling
a little bit
in the championship round stamina-wise. I just think he couldn't figure him out. And
right. So the stamina, to me, he looked to be in better shape in this one than I saw him in the Munguia fight, for example. Yes. I thought he was in and even the Berlanga one, I thought he was in better shape. But the reality is, BC, this was an opponent he could not, how do I explain? He could camouflage his decline against a Berlanga who he could knock down early and then, kind of just do better than the rest of the way. Bud is not that guy. You can't do that to him. It simply doesn't work. And so, to me, what got revealed is something that's been there for a while that he has been trying to hide from the public. No more hiding.
No more hiding at all. Let's hear from Canelo talking about exactly how difficult it was to deal with Terence Crawford in this fight.
We knew Crawford is a great fighter, and I did what I supposed to do, right? I tried for every way, and I trained really hard, and he deserved all the credit. No, I try my best tonight, and I just cannot figure out the style.
Was it something specific, the movement or his speed or power, or what? Was there something you could put your finger on that gave you the most trouble?
Everything.
Okay.
He have everything.
And just one more, Canelo, it has been, I can't even know the number of years it's been since you've been without a world title. Even after you lost to Dimitri Bivol, you still were the super middleweight champion. It's been probably 10 years or whatever since you haven't had a title. Has it sunk in yet that for the first time in all that time, you're not a world champion?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Just that it's been so many years since you have not been a world champion. And so has it sunk in yet that for the first time in forever, you're not a world champion?
No, I feel a champion, no matter what. I win no matter what, and I still feel a champion. So it is what it is. You need to take the loss and accept everything. But I'm gonna continue. Do it.
Dude, I gotta give him credit. I don't know if people wanted him to argue that he thought he won.
Yeah, I gotta say,
that would have been a little delusional,
I thought he took it well, actually. I mean, did he take it raging and saying and delusional shit? Maybe that would be more appealing to some people. It wasn't more appealing to me. He was like, you know what, dude? Holy fuck. Dude, sometimes you know.
Like when he lost to Bivol, he still was saying, I want a rematch. I want to show you. Because maybe part of him thought, because that was during the era he had the injured wrist and he couldn't train well. Maybe there was part of him that thought, give me another chance, I'll do it. This was him realizing, I just got straight up handled. I got beat. Yeah. I didn't think I was going to get beat. I got beat. But for him to say, I'm going to keep fighting, I respect that. The Benavidez thing, I guess, does that cloud go away? That we held that against him? Because I don't think he's going to seek that fight. I think Jake Paul is a perfect option for him to make money and get an easy one. Dude. I'm wondering if it's going to be instead Turkey overpaying him to fight Hamza Shiraz, or Chris Eubank if he beats Ben. In
yeah,
the rematch,
maybe the Eubank one.
Go
because
to a England stadium for that.
Yeah,
right?
like that seems possible now. Again, there's no titles involved. He can go and jump around and take whatever he wants, and you can decide if you like that fight or not. But he's not holding anything up. He's not, he's not avoiding any mandatory
I don't think
anymore.
He can fight at light heavyweight anymore.
I don't think it's
without
a good,
the motor.
Yeah.
The motor is going down, and without
I don't think it's a good idea. And I think he got in really good shape for this fight. I just don't know how much he can do that every fight hereafter.
It's probably the realization of I did the best I could at this fight in this point in my career.
Dude, at some point, like, can you imagine, like, you tried your absolute best, it wasn't enough. Are you supposed to feel bad about yourself? You can feel bad about the circumstances. You can feel bad about the result, but like, dude, it sounds simple, but it's what we teach our kids.
I don't get the dunking
If you
on
give
him.
everything you have, why are what else was there to do? You did what you could.
And what's with this automatic just dunking on him of from people saying he was never the pound for pound number one. He was just the most popular fighter. And,
there was a time where he
beat
was.
killers at super middleweight. Well, he beat all the unbeaten champions. You know what I mean? Except for Benavidez, of course.
And he did it quickly as
right.
well.
And I mean, I don't know. He fought 3 to 4 times a year in his most recent prime, right? The 168 prime. Like, he was great. Did he lose now 3 times against? I mean, look, we all thought he lost at least once against Triple G, right?
I thought he lost the first one.
So I mean, I thought he lost both, to be fair. But the 4 fighters he fought that were better than him, he lost to them. He's still an all-time great. Still in conversation for the best in Mexican history. Still going to keep fighting, but he met his match here. It came against a smaller fighter, but again, this was not a small. That's the craziest thing to me. It's not that we didn't know Bud was an inch taller with 4 inches longer arms, but because he put on the weight incrementally, and because inactivity doesn't seem to affect sometimes the great ones, right? Like, Ray Leonard coming back after 3.5 years to beat Hagler. It's just wild. And by the way, the Hagler comparison. Hagler's considered sort of like the best switch hitter of all time.
Mm-hmm. It might be Bud.
Bud isn't even switching. He's just going to southpaw out of nowhere and closing the fight out. And then in this case, it was 12 full rounds of southpaw, and is somehow even better in some cases than he is as a righty.
Isn't it amazing that his 2 best wins came out of southpaw? Spence and Canelo. That's wild, dude. And again, people are like, oh, but he can be, because you can make the argument, well, maybe he's better out of southpaw. Yes, I mean, clearly he's very adept at it, but I just want to point out that's not his natural stance. Or whatever else you want to say, he is normally, or at least the way he is, if you asked him, what is your conventional stance? It is, in fact, right-handed,
Yeah, but notice, no talk about rematch, which is a good thing. We don't need a rematch.
Yeah, I didn't.
Canelo doesn't want a rematch.
I figured, I was like, you always have to ask yourself, when the fight's over, is there going to be public demand for it? I don't think there's a lot of public demand for it,
And that's the only problem with Bud moving forward is there's no obvious next name unless they wanted to do something crazy with
Canelo was we talked about it pre-fight. Canelo was the win where he made the boxing establishment say, I'm him.
Yep.
He made them do it. But now that you've done it, it's like, how do you top this? There might be some ways, but it's not so clear. Whereas for Canelo, dude, I mean, this frees him up. You want to go fight Eubank in London? Go do it. You want to go fight Jake Paul in fucking wherever? Go do it. Like, you can just go do whatever the fuck you want now.
Yeah, I saw Nate Diaz.
Tony Ferguson?
Nate Diaz tweeted Terrence Crawford with a target.
Dude, Terrence Crawford. I mean, we all love Nate Diaz.
I'm sure Topuria wants his chance now, too.
We all love Nate Diaz. What did you think about Bud's walkout, by the way, with the guitar?
So it was kind of badass. I'm over the non-Mexican fighters putting on the Mexican gimmick, like when Floyd wore the sombrero and stuff, and then now 18 people have done that after him. But to then find out about Topuria, but then to find out at the press conference that Terrence didn't know that was Topuria's walkout song.
Yes.
So it was sort of an
accidental.
accidental.
It was from the Desperado movie.
Right.
We're on the poster.
Yes.
Antonio Banderas, by the way, is Spanish, not Mexican. I know the movie is Mexican, but
it was badass. The Tool thing, while weird timed, was also badass.
Weird to me.
The long gap between the co-main and main event when it's already 1 a.m. was not fun. But let's get into that because that is topic number 3. It's looking at this. It wasn't a massive super fight. You had Netflix at the table. We're all interested in seeing the ratings here of how many people were watching live or if they stayed up for it. But I've heard so many casuals knowing about this fight, watching this fight, being impressed by Terrence Crawford in this fight. This was also the first TKO-backed boxing event. You saw Dana White ringside, whether it looked like he was happy to be there or not. The stakeholders of Saudi Arabia were in place. In fact, Luke, we can take a quick look at the at the still photo here, if you will, Luke Thomas, of Turkey shadowboxing, Jason Statham,
first of all,
Mr. Beast.
Is this the weirdest fucking group
Is that
of
a
all time?
nightmare blunt rotation? As you
Yeah,
would
I mean,
say?
the most nightmare blunt rotation. I mean, okay, if you had to smoke weed with one of them, it's Jason Statham, right?
No doubt about it.
Right.
I don't even know if Mr.
Second,
Beast
it's gotta
is a
be
human.
Dana, actually.
Mr. Beast might be a part robot and lizard at the same time.
Mr. Beast and Turkey to me is I'm not like I don't know, just a no. You know,
Yeah,
Dana
look at Mauricio
or
Suleiman in the back.
You don't
just
think Mr.
kidding.
Beast would be like, hit this blunt X amount of times and I'll give you X amount of money?
Yeah,
it might be a good hack.
He's ready to play Squid Games with the MK crew.
Dude,
There's no doubt about it.
Let's just hold on. Leave this picture up for a second. Do I have anything to report? No. Was there a lot of rumor mongering
Yes.
in Vegas on fight week that Dana and Turkey are beefing? Yes, there was.
Was there that awkward moment at the end of the press conference?
Yes, there was.
Yes,
there was a ton of rumor mongering that these two can't stand each other.
Let's get into the overall picture here. I want you to grade the performance. There was a lot of pressure on UFC to maybe reinvent the wheel, to be fair, right? And I know it didn't seem a lot of Turkey influence in here. I don't know the inside story. I don't know how all those relationships work. But what do you think went right with the broadcast? What did you not like? How would you grade overall the appearance, the feel, length, everything that went into UFC's full-on jump into the deep end debut in boxing?
I think that there were many, many positives. I also think there's a lot to work on. Now, let me say this. I talked to some folks who were, had some understanding of how this broadcast worked. And my understanding is they wanted to do a certain kind of stuff. But dude, the Saudi influence where they're like, well, now we need to interject this part into the broadcast. And I want this guy shown on the broadcast. And I want this production element introduced into the broadcast. My understanding is there was a lot of that, and it lengthened the broadcast to an absurd degree. First of all, unless you've got like Pitbull Cruz on the main card, 3 fights on the main card. 4 fights, dude, it should be a law.
Okay,
if your broadcast starts at X time, your main event must start not at 3.5, 4 hours
I want to
after
counter that. If you're doing a fight on Netflix, which means you are aggressively railing in the casual audience,
fan, that's right.
You cannot offer fights before that are not bangers or some like this is the next biggest, like if like here's the next big thing.
Yes.
So you got to give credit, obviously, for Christian Mabili and Lester Martinez fought their balls off.
Great fight.
And that was great. But to open this card with a 21-year-old Saudi prospect who's like a 4-round guy, has 1 KO in 5 fights, and you put him in a 10-round fight against a guy who's going to quit boxing in 2 weeks and go join the army? Like, what are we doing here?
Dude, there's no way they put that fight on the beginning of Netflix broadcast.
You're turning people away that are like, oh shit, Canelo, what is this fight everybody's talking about?
I don't know this for a fact. I would bet everything I own that Turkey made them do that. I'd bet everything I own Turkey made them do that.
And even though I didn't argue against Dana's choice of pushing Callum Walsh into that co-main event
that was
spot,
fine.
It just turned out that the fight sucked.
Yeah.
And they both really weren't ready for the full prime
which is fine. We're doing with Tool without Maynard. I don't know what the fuck that was. That was kind of weird. I will say that I loved the walkouts, and dude, the quality TV, it literally looked beautiful.
Let me add on to that. The in-arena production of the lights, the colors. When Bud came out, there were lights that made it look like there was an American flag across the crowd. When Canelo came out, you had the colors of the Mexican in-stadium. Because look, we always say the 10 minutes before the
what
bell
stadium
rings,
boxing matches have you been to besides this one?
I've been to Spence Ugas at.
So I was there with you
at
Jerry's,
and I've not been in another one, but you've seen it on TV. And I'm saying when I say stadium, I mean I didn't specifically mean stadiums or domes. I basically meant the in-arena experience that I've ever seen in boxing. This was that times 1,000. So they always say the most exciting time in boxing are the 10 minutes before one's on their feet. Dude, the mariachi jam bands that were playing, this was a 10 out of a 10. So that's a credit to Netflix, to UFC and Zuffa Boxing's production team. Like that was tremendous. Right there.
I totally agree with
the
that.
Netflix signs around the ring,
Dude,
the N on
Can I just say that big ring apron where they've got the Netflix stuff and then in the ring posts itself?
It was awesome.
I love that. Bring that back every single time. It pushes the crowd back a little bit further. So fucking what? That is such a cool thing that they add to the broadcast. I love it.
Part of why we assume there was a deeper power play going on is because what have we heard Dana say forever about the things he hates about boxing? The length of the cards, the podcast between, fights, all that. I seeing Dana looking so unhappy at ringside for the majority of this event, I have to believe that there were elements of this broadcast that he wasn't able to carry out to what he expected.
There's no doubt in my mind that there's a broadcast that they wanted to do, and then there's the broadcast that they had to do. And as a consequence, it was way, way, way too long. Also, I will say this. When you've got a main event that's going to cost 150 to 200 million, that is going to limit who else you can put on the card. But as a general rule, I would like to see at least one other bout of, I guess you could say the Mbili Martinez fight was of real significance, but between that and then the main event, the co-main event not working, and then the opening bout being a complete waste of everyone's time, again, 3 fights on the main card if what you care about is the casual audience, and to the extent possible, because sometimes BC, the main event fighters or the A sides have a say in the timing of the event. I don't know if that was in play in this one, but it can happen. But to the extent possible, it's not just what's the distance between the start time of the broadcast and the main event. The main event needs to start, in my opinion, in boxing no later than 11:30 p.m. East Coast time.
I'm with you. I wonder if, did Canelo control certain terms of when he can come out?
He is powerful.
It looked like he was at odds, too, with the operation. Remember when he was arguing with Max Kellerman earlier in the week? And
that's true. Yep. I don't know.
It's hard to say, but maybe from a Zuffa boxing standpoint, I'm sure it's going to be hard to judge their true impact, innovations, all of that until we see their series that Dana says is coming out.
Yeah, that's right. I would say this. Are there a bunch of positives to absolutely not, but hardly any disaster, hardly any kind of failure. It's just, this has got to, dude, if you're Dana White and you've been talking so much shit about how boxing broadcasts have all these unnecessary elements, and he's right, I agree with him, you have to do something different. They didn't this time. Let's see if they do going forward.
Knowing that these Netflix events, these fights on Netflix, whether it's Katie Taylor and Serrano, or Jake Paul and Mike Tyson, and now this, they're purposely made to bring in the casual audience. So are you okay with the overabundance of celebrity interviews, of celebrities positioned next to Turkey at ringside? They're sort of rotating. It's like, there's Mark Wahlberg, there's this. Is that sort of the equivalent of like a Super Bowl has all these other gimmicks to keep it? But
I think for these kinds of events, it is, because if you're really reaching the casual audience, that means you're probably going to have a lot more women than you ordinarily would. You might have different kinds of demographic income. Who knows? And just sort of running the gamut to see who's here. Tracy Morgan's here. If people still give a fuck, But, whoever's there, I don't mind that. But, here's the things that they were wasting. Turkey talk. Maybe I got to tell you. Here's how often I want to hear from Turkey during any broadcast.
I know.
Not at all. Turkey, nobody wants to hear from you. Nobody.
I think the problem is because him and his nation are paying for it all. People in boxing were so quick from day one to induct him into the Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame and give him his flowers that now he feels he's bigger than it all. And
but it's not just him. So, for example, before the main event, I didn't think they did a bad job, but they go to Mario Lopez and Antonio Tarver and I think Kriegel and then Kopp, and they let's get your main event picks. And I'm like, let's not.
It's 1 a.m. Let's get to the fight.
Don't need to hear what the fuck Mark Kriegel is or Mike Coppinger or who.
You get to know him outside of it. There were a lot of critiques about certain elements. Look, I love the trio of Max Kellerman, Andre Ward, and John Anik. At night, even though it was great to hear Max back in his element doing what he loves, the amount of propaganda from him was out. Can we put that up one more time? I don't think Luke saw it because Luke is...
I'm finding a photo of Max Kellerman. I'm not blowing off the show. I believe you.
Is it justified in totality from the broadcast to where people... the way he asked questions in the post-fight interviews, say what you will. As much as it was great to have him back hosting those Ring Live shows, doing a lot of stuff, I don't know how to fully explain or understand why the ass-kissing / if Turkey wasn't born, none of us would be here type thing was so damn outrageous.
Over the top.
How do you even address
I got
that?
a picture of Max talking about they're just doing a bunch of shilling. And you might be saying, well, how can you really tell, what that means for Max by a picture? But here's the picture. I feel like this is Max Kellerman talking about all that
Max
stuff.
is the reason why I felt being a talking head in boxing was ever going to be possible
That's
for me.
Exactly
we love him.
This is the part about this. Was number one, early in the broadcast when I was listening to Max, I was like, wow, he sounds like the same old Max. This is great. And then again, you do the live show and you miss a lot of the commentary, which is where I think later on in the card is where most of the stuff he said became objectionable. But the issue for me is he didn't do this in his HBO boxing days.
No, he was the opposite. 'Cause
He was the opposite,
Yes.
dude. When it was HBO, it was as an MMA fan watching these broadcasts and listening to Max and Jim in particular kill the promotion.
Days. That was a sort of a special HBO boxing
Fine.
thing.
You don't have to. But like, how many times did Max mention the BMF belt? Max, what the fuck are we doing, dude? Nobody needs. You guys complain about the alphabet system in boxing with good reason, and now you want to introduce a fucking BMF belt in boxing? What are we talking about here? This is absurd. More to the point, BC, aside from that, I thought that Jim, which was, hey, John actually sounds pretty good, but they would argue he just sounds like the voice of the UFC. I understand. I didn't feel that way. I mean,
Right. Also, if you don't know John's history, he came up in boxing. He hosted a boxing radio show. He was at all the pay-per-views in Vegas for that show. He called boxing championship fights on ESPN before he completely made the switch to MMA and then got hired by UFC. Also, I thought he really controlled traffic and performed very
he did a
well.
Great job.
Considering the first time this trio's together, first time Kellerman was calling fights in 7 years. So all in all, I mean, even people were ripping that one moment where they put the live camera on them in ringside and John's like, hey, Andre and Max, you can talk to me. And people are like thinking there's some fighting going on. Dude, that's just, John is working with largely UFC production people.
Yep.
Those guys are not used to this broadcast. He's just letting them know, like, hey,
John knows all the producers around him on set there as well. But getting back to Kellerman a little bit, I also felt like he was a little rusty. So I'm going to give him partially the benefit of the doubt.
I don't want to kill him for the post-fight interviews. A lot of people thought he was
well,
like,
he was a little bit,
or...
yes. Well, so what he does is he asks a question, he gets an answer. He does two things. One, he kind of waits a long time before he gets to the next question, which I don't mind, but he did it a little long, but that's not a big deal.
There's also a million people in the ring. Did you see Bolmack at that point yell at the cameras, go, get away from me?
It was like when I saw Wu-Tang Clan in concert, there were 100 people on
Dana
stage.
hates that too, by the way.
I know. You can tell it wasn't a Dana White event for that reason.
Yes.
But the other part to me, BC, was the preamble he would go into in these questions, being like, Bud, we all know you have fucked every guy's wife in here. How does it feel to be the chief wife fucker? Let's talk about all the ways in which you have fucked their wives. Also, your reaction to winning tonight. It's like, what is up with this fucking preamble that we're doing?
You got a lot of opinions online. Here's Nikisa Bedarian of MVP, who also has done some work on Netflix. He says another great Netflix production and broadcast team. John Anik was amazing. Andre Ward
was great, by
as
the way.
usual. Only oddity was Max Kellerman saying the same scripted narrative 108 times.
Did you go back and listen to the broadcast?
I actually was listening to the broadcast from press row for every fight except for the main event because I wanted to not be distracted and be completely dialed in.
Okay.
So just to be fair, you never know where you're going to be seated as a boxing press person anymore. You know, it automatically was always ringside for years. Then in recent years, they started to follow more of the Eddie Hearn European trend in the upper deck in the crowd with no workspace. They've been starting to move, obviously, the American media at these fights, even in Vegas, out deeper on the floor, which can make it harder to truly score round by round or have a feel of what's going on. For this, they put us like up in the crowd. Now, it's still the top of the first level, but in a dome, we were far away. So I'm scoring the fight, to be honest with you, off of the screens. Everybody that's in my area watching off of the screens. But I did listen to the broadcast. I align with a lot of these. I don't mind Max playing team ball once or twice and saying, look, there is an opportunity here with all of these power players to make a new boxing for the future. And here's the kickoff for that. I don't mind doing that. He's working for the powers that be. These days, there is no editorial like HBO Boxing and Larry Merchant established. It's not there anymore. You're not going to work for the promoter anymore because the promoters are aligned so aggressively with the networks. But this was ad nauseum to a level that was...
Anik works for the same people,
right?
And he wasn't doing any of that.
Now, to top all this, are you against, even though Saudi paid for everything here, that every person in the crowd at Allegiant Stadium received a program, which was cool, and a copy of Ring Magazine, which is cool, and a Saudi Arabian travel brochure?
Yeah. I mean, once again, I don't know what to say. If they're going to pay for it, it's their show. They can do it. In that sense, I don't have a problem with it. But in the sense that these events are used to launder a murderous dictatorial government, yeah, I do have a problem with that. But, you know, I guess we don't really care anymore, so I don't know what to say.
Yeah, I guess that's the situation. Shout out to Sergey Boachuk and Brandon Adams. They had their rematch in the featured prelim.
I didn't see any of the prelims.
36-year-old Brandon Adams beat him a second time, got inside on him. It was a fun action fight. that should have been the opener on the main card. That would have kicked a lot
but again,
of ass.
dude, you saw a Saudi guy who was no fucking good. I mean, I guess he won.
And they switched his opponent like a week before.
They put him on the main card. Why do you think he's there? Turkey put him. Again, I don't know that. I'm going to guess Turkey put him there.
Well, I think that's fairly obvious. All right, let's transition here. Football's back, guys. It's not just combat sports on this show. But you know what's also back? Your shot at winning big. And with DraftKings Pick 6, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL, your game day instincts can score you real money really fast. Here is the play. Just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats from the breakout rookies to the elite QBs and unlock your upside that every snap brings you. The better your calls, the bigger your payout. So, Luke Thomas, we have a Monday Night Football double header tonight. Tampa Bay at the Texans in the first one, the Chargers at the Raiders in the second one. When I'm looking at Baker Mayfield of the Tampa Bay Bucks, and I'm giving you passing yards 232.5, are you going more or less for this Monday night against the Texans?
You know what? People hate on Baker.
Yeah.
I think he can do it. I'll take the over on that one, brother.
That is just an example. If you think you know football like Luke Thomas is pretending he does right now, you might be able to cash in big with DraftKings Pick 6.
The problem is the Bucks are annoying and how good they are, so I can't underrate them anymore.
Even without Brady.
Baker's no Brady, but Baker's better than the detractors say he is.
True. What else can you tell the people about this, Luke?
This season, play your player instincts. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now. Use the code KOMBAT. That's KOMBAT with a K. Play just $5. Get $50 in Pick 6 bonus picks. Make the call. Ride the upside. I don't have my glasses. I apologize. In partnership with DraftKings Pick 6, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void when prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 bonus picks that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
Reading problems? Buy a pair from the grocery
I have my glasses.
store.
I didn't put them on. I don't know what the fuck
I'm
doing.
old as Shiite like you and never bring my glasses anywhere. And
I got new glasses. So I have glasses that I need for reading, and then I have a different set of glasses that I need for far away. I started using the far away glasses when I go to the movies. I did not realize how much I was missing. It made a huge difference.
Long Island Luke, I did want you to sprinkle on here just to close. When talking about UFC's kickoff into boxing, were you impressed by the Netflix broadcast at all?
Yeah, like Luke said, I thought it looked really good. I was thinking that the whole time. It was very crisp. It was smooth in the past on these Netflix ones. Taylor Serrano, I had buffering issues, streaming issues, stuff like that. So I got no complaints, man. It was a smooth.
I'm interested to see what these. I mean, Turkey has already tweeted that it's the most watched boxing event in history. Luke, I don't know how that's possible that it already is, but
what is the most watched boxing event?
I think it's generally considered to be. It depends how you do it, right? So the Muhammad Ali Leon Spinks rematch in 1978 at the Superdome in New Orleans was bought by ABC, and it got 90 million viewers at a time when people were tied to their 6 channels or whatever they had. So that's insane, right?
Yeah. Also, what was the U.S. population in 78? Let me look that up.
But Tyson versus Paul just recently on Netflix did 60-something million concurrent, 100-something million total viewers. So I'm going to guess that they overachieved here. But overachieving still might be like 50 million, right?
Yeah, dude, 1978, there were 222 million people. So 90 million is almost, not quite, half the country.
Yeah, that's
insane.
impressive. That is, I mean, Muhammad Ali was at a different level than Canelo, or all that will ever be at. All right, let's transition out of boxing here and get into mixed martial arts. And there was a lot to talk about there.
Dude, you know what? That main event was fun.
Dude, that main event was an absolute banger. I mean, we just started dating, right? I hope so. Hey, this third ever Noche UFC event took place in San Antonio. Wasn't a pay-per-view, wasn't an overly loaded card, but certainly had some moments and had a featherweight main event that was must-see on paper, was insanely must-see after the fact if you missed it. A thriller as Diego Lopes bounces back from his vacant title loss to Alexander Volkanovski by continuing to bury the fighting nerds' trajectory of late by taking on the favorite Lord Gian Silva. Back and forth, bloody. And suddenly in round 2, it is viciously over. A spinning back elbow from Diego Lopes, who took some damage to start that round after sort of dominating the first round in full mount for half of it. What a wild turn of events. Luke, what did Diego Lopes prove with this victory? Did it prove that he's still near the top of this division? We could say a lot about what this means for the fighting nerds, but right off the top, for Diego Lopes to weather that storm and then beat Silva with the same type of dynamic highlight reel strikes that he was getting hit with, what does this say about him coming off of that title loss?
Yeah, I was a little bit concerned about him after the Volkanovski loss because of what it did to him in terms of showing how limited some of his positioning in the cage is. And, as I mentioned, sometimes you get these guys in title fights and then they come out afterwards and they're still missing a step. But there was none of that with Diego Lopes. He absolutely proved he was very elite. And
but the chin.
Well,
Dude, he got hit with a highlight reel slew of punches.
Right,
dude.
and how about that front kick right underneath the
and
chin?
those three-piece combinations, I mean, everything was landing on
The
him.
thing that was so impressive to me, BC, was we knew his ground game was good, but the addition of his wrestling skill now, where he waited for the spin, which, by the way, you could tell that they had planned that, right? So you wait for the spin, you go to the body lock, you mat return him to the floor, and then you immediately assume a dominant position, and then you can hold the dominant position because of how good your grappling skills are. Beats the living shit out of him for most of that round. Now, there was a little bit of a rebound towards the end of the first
but that
by
elbow,
Silva.
The elbow in round
were
one cut him.
terrible. And then in the second, I thought Silva was doing great. So, to me, the lesson here was, BC, are there still known limits to Diego Lopes's game? Yes. At range, Silva was busting him up. That's just a fact. And as you saw in the fight with Volkanovski, the positioning issues can be quite real. However, he's got offense everywhere. He has
chin.
Dude, he's so dangerous in close. Remember, at UFC 300, when Sadiq Youssef was in the clinch, they break clinch for a minute, and boom, that shot comes right over from him. If we're at kicking range, it's a different ball game. We're at striking range with punches. Still, it depends on who he's fighting, but Silva was better there. But you get into clinch range or all the things that happened in the grappling department, he was way better than Silva and was, I think, honestly, very surprising with his own spinning attacks. Dude, Diego Lopes has offense everywhere. Dangerous.
I don't want to say that saved him, but him landing that strike at that moment in a fight that he had highs and lows, I think he holds serve and then some as an elite fighter in this division. It's redemptive in so many ways.
And also, I want to be clear, dude, he used Silva's pressure against him.
Yes.
He weaponized all this. He knew this guy was going to be charging hard the whole time, so they had attacks ready.
And he had that nasty mustache, too.
Yeah, he looked like a 1980s high school football coach. And he's got 10 haircuts at the same time, which I don't quite understand, but that's another thing going. But the point I'm trying to make is, dude, I think that I want to be clear, all the limits that we saw in the Volk fight are gone. No, not necessarily. But what I can say is he taking some of his existing strengths, like grappling, and then building on them with improved wrestling? Yes. And he is always ready to go for offense. He's always in a position to throw or to strike or to clinch or to, you name it.
Yeah.
He's always ready to attack. So if you're pressuring him, dude, Volk, it showed, had exactly the right approach. Diego Lopes is so dangerous, you kind of want to keep him at your range and chip away at him. Silva wanted to just, I'm going to like a Visigoth running down the fucking hill. I'm going to go after him. You can't fight that dude that way. You can't do it.
No, dude, are you with me that if that perfect spinning elbow didn't land when it did, that this was heading into fight of the year territory? This was heading into just some batshit craziness.
I think that Silva did show me he's dangerous at range, really dangerous at range. But I don't know how much longer that fight would have lasted in any case. You know what I mean?
Let's see the before and after of both fighters. Here's the handshake to start the fight.
Dude, look.
There it is afterwards.
Let me ask you a question. They couldn't get a towel for this guy?
Dude, I think it just kept leaking. I mean, you got to be honest. You've never seen an elbow land like that spinning one did and then see that much blood flow all over. The canvas, the arms, the legs.
I mean, I've seen some pretty bad elbows.
That was wild. So Lord Gian Silva's intensity kind of worked. I mean, he was out of control intense from the stare down with the wife beforehand. I know she plays a big part in his camp in making him the man he is, as the woman behind every great man should be. It doesn't have to be behind, but that's the old saying.
I understand what you're
I'm not trying to dig misogynistic holes for myself here. But Luke, then he did the same thing with Bruce Buffer in such a out of control way.
Can I be honest? That made me uncomfortable.
Round 2, then, after being on the ground in full mount and taking a beating, he had great success, but it was wild great success. It was just constant, It's like when you play the UFC video game and you hit like the 4 buttons together that create like the spinny shit. Dude, he's just throwing like murderous shit left and right. Is that sustainable at the elite level?
No, I think Silva was shown up here a little bit. I think that if my takeaway is anything, it's like, okay, his grappling against Bryce, I had said was somewhat vetted.
Yeah.
But it's not vetted enough. He had real problems with it. And again, partly facilitated by the spinning attacks, which did not need to happen. Because you saw he got taken down in the second round, but he got up much quicker in the second round, so it wasn't nearly as bad. But the fact that he spins like and is just so aggressive with it and is trying to live in a flow state, these are defensive liabilities.
He almost hit so many of those, dude. Like, or sometimes he did hit it that up, like the
yes,
front kick.
sometimes. I mean, again, he's dangerous and he's
reversed that reverse.
Yeah. No, he's dangerous. But dude, this game's where you're like, I'm trying to be in some kind of fight artistic flow state, and I like, dude. Emmanuel Augustus is remembered for his style, not for the body's resume. And Silva kind of reminds me of that. He's got this kind of, I mean, not to the same degree, but
drunken master.
He has this insane, very fun style. But dude, that's not going to work on Volk. And it didn't work on Diego Lopes. And I have a feeling it's definitely not going to work on Movsar. And if you want, and maybe others as well, Aljamain. You think that shit's going to work on Aljamain?
No.
Aljamain's not going to play this fucking game with you. Like these are fun antics. Like, there's a question about the fighting nerds, which we'll get to. But the point is, you can play these games against decent to maybe even good opponents. You cannot do that against the top of the division. They are absolutely ruthless with how they will audit what's wrong with you. And he got fucking audited.
Whether the timing is fair or not, Silva's loss plays into the larger narrative that the fighting nerds exploded on the scene, were as exciting as possible. In Silva's case, in these wins, showing like all this joy and craziness in a positive way. And now, as each have stepped up, with the exception of Olashashik since coming to their camp, we've seen them now lose. Let's first hear from Diego Lopes, who had, a lot of sort of pre-fight hectic issues with Silva when they crossed paths at the hotel there in San Antonio. Here's the message he gave to the fighting nerds after the fight.
What was that emotion like right after the fight? It looked like he maybe tried to punch you. What was going on there?
Yeah, it's like I'm surprised with this too. Like I feel the punch in my back of my head. I'm turning on. It's like he jump puts me in the back of my head. No, I don't understand for why. But it's okay. This is maybe the emotion, no, this time, because this guy is a little bit hungry because this lost the fight, no. But it's okay. I feel good now. This is my moment. Like the people como que no vão apagar el brilho de mi victoria.
I'm not going to pay for the price for my victory. I'm not going to pay that price for the victory.
You jumped up on the cage. You were flipping off some people. What was that about?
This is your training partners, no? It's like before I entered in the octagon, the coachman put the Vaseline in my face. Your partner, your training partner talk a lot. It's like, oh, you died today. This guy kill you. You suck. Sorry, guys. You sucks. This guy knock you out. Like talk a lot of bad words, no. Yeah, after this, okay, it's okay, no. But after I finish the fight, I go to face your training partners. Sorry, I show my things for these guys.
What advice would you give him now that he suffered his first loss in the UFC?
¿Qué consejo le darías a él ahora que ya perdió su primer pelea en UFC?
I don't know. maybe train more. Talk less, train more.
I want to say I'm not protecting Gian Silva for hitting that rabbit punch after the fight ended, which, back in the day you can lose your job for that. Although I think it was fueled by the idea that after the stoppage, did you notice that Diego Lopes kneeled right next to Silva and started to talk to the team members of Silva? Like he was like scolding them.
Yes.
And I think Lord Silva kind of came to, saw that, and then got up and thought that he was, whatever. But separate from the theatrics that happened afterwards, Silva's an emotional fighter and he got concussed probably. I'm not going to jump on him for that. Is this a complete referendum on who the fighting nerds are? Or did they just kind of explode too quickly and everyone kind of needs a humbling loss to continue to climb that ladder?
Yeah, I mean, this is not if the team was like, hey, we're going to exist until Noche UFC, and then we're not going to exist anymore, you could judge like what the team did. But it's not over. However, at the same time, I don't know how you can look at these results and come to any other conclusion than their success is not accidental. They are good, and they're a lot of fun. I think that's very clear. I'm glad, dude, they brought a certain kind of levity with the glasses and the antics. Like, all that part of the Fight Games theater is really fun. But if you guys want to be champions, well, clearly you're not ready. There's more to be done. So they're not frauds by any stretch of the imagination. They can beat guys certainly outside the top 15, and for the most part, outside the top 10. But once you get to the top 7, they fall apart. They fall apart after that.
They got to work on more wrestling.
They got to work on wrestling. They have to work on a lot of other parts of their game. Let's see. There's some of them, many of, not all of them, but many of them are still fairly young. They've reached their existing limit. Can they change their limits? That's the question going forward.
We got one more piece of Lopes talking about how he lured Gian Silva into that stoppage.
No, bro, trust me. For you knocking me out, it's so hard. I feel your point is it's not too hard for the people watching the TV, you know? Because for this, okay, this guy punched me. I take him for the confidence for this guy for the front. After this guy go to advance, I'm go to for elbow. It's this is my plan. I have videos in the backstage, bro.
So that was the strategy this whole time, was to lure Gian Silva into thinking that he was connecting with you, and then you were going to throw the spinning elbow.
Yeah, because this guy, after connecting one punch, this guy have confidence for to go for finish. I have now time for finish, but it's not it's me. I know the people know. The people don't have idea of this, but every time Gian is so exposed you punch. This guy is standing a lot your arms, because this guy is the chin up. You know, it's I use this time for the spin elbow.
So he was overextending his punches.
Yeah, every time.
Luke, I do think they needed a translator after that main event. I know Fabiano Busquet was busy, and he did a tremendous job at the Crawford Canelo event during all week. He was great.
They brought out the translating goat for the big dog.
He delivered, believe me. I wish they would have had one afterwards, just because Lopes was trying to talk to the crowd in Spanish and then was having trouble relate that. But he says those punches from the strikes from Silva were not affecting him. They were not hard. They looked pretty hard.
I gotta say, that's one of those things where it's it wasn't very hard. Well, first of all, it looked that way, and second of all, the judges would have scored it that way had it continued.
No damage on his face, or not much damage.
I mean, Silva definitely looked worse,
yeah.
but he got touched up too.
All right, let's go to topic number 5, which is the rest of this Noche ESPN card, Noche UFC card, which did air on ESPN and did end perfectly right before the main card of Canelo Crawford, as UFC was double dipping on this night. But for starters, Luke, first and foremost, Noche UFC began as a non-pay-per-view going up against a boxing pay-per-view when Shevchenko and Grasso had their rematch in a pretty good card. Evolved to the damn Sphere last year in a pay-per-view going head-to-head with Canelo. This year, we know the mitigating circumstances that led to it being moved out of Mexico, moved off a pay-per-view, put on earlier in the night. Would you like to see moving forward, however, that if UFC is going to go to this level, and I like all the little touches that they do for Noche, from the outfits of the ring card girls to everything. I mean, they
graphics
do
package,
right? Everything is pretty damn cool. Would you like to see this be a numbered event that gets priority? Can we forgive them for this year it just being sort of thrown in? This was not a great card on paper in terms of what you'd expect. What do you think this should be moving forward?
I just don't know what Noche UFC means to UFC, right?
Does it mean UFC night? If you translate it?
It's not what I mean. What I mean is, how can it be that 1 year you got a title fight, and then the next year it's this gigantic event at the Sphere, and then the next year it's
I mean, to answer that subtly, Turkey paid for that massive event last year at the Sphere, and now he's paying for this massive Canelo Crawford fight.
Yeah, I get it, but I'm saying UFC has to. Here's what I would say. I don't think it needs to be a numbered event. Not that I would complain if it was, but what it needs to be is something consistent. What is it what does Noche UFC mean for UFC in terms of the card they build and the stakes involved? Because I do like the Mexican element of it.
Yeah.
I do like the story there. Again, to the way it changes the broadcast. I like all this stuff. I have no problem with any of it. In fact, I think it's a great thing that they're doing it. I just can't figure out what Noche UFC is, other than sometimes it's a way to rebrand an ordinary fight night.
Yeah.
The main event was great. I think this is a super fine main event. But one more time, all the previous Noche UFC events had title fights. This one didn't. And there weren't that many Mexicans on it. There were a fair amount of Latinos, but there weren't very many Mexicans on it.
Should
I don't know. It's a little weird.
Should it be an annual fight night in Mexico? Should it be an annual pay-per-view regardless of whether you load it up with Latin fighters? Like,
Okay.
what do you think it should be?
Here's my opinion as a white guy who's not Latin but is a fight fan.
Well, you are a pseudo-Latino man.
Pseudo, very pseudo.
Quasi-Latino
Very
man.
pseudo.
Wannabe Latino
Yes.
man.
Very,
Yes.
very pseudo, very wannabe. I don't care when they put it, but as long as you're going to make it consistent.
Yeah.
Right? What's...
No, you gave the same tone of when you said that you don't care if somebody lives or dies. So I'm
Yeah.
basically like, yeah, this is where it's at.
Well, I just mean, like, could they put it in May for Cinco de Mayo, which I realize is an American holiday, not necessarily Mexican, but it's kind of Mexican-American holiday or event to us. Could they put it there? Could you put it any other night? Sure, you could put it whenever you want. Like, it doesn't have to be on September or May. That's what my only thing is. Whenever you do it, have some level of consistency for it.
Remember
That's
that scene in Cruel Intentions when Sarah Michelle Gellar was like, you can put it anywhere.
I've never seen Cruel Intentions. Am I missing out?
Oh, wow.
I'm not missing out?
Wow.
Oh, you are missing out. That's what. The
Yeah,
problem
thank
is.
you.
For
Thank
not
you.
seeing it.
Come on. Yes, especially for the 90s.
Yeah,
Wow,
well, how
yeah.
about, what was the movie where Denise Richards kissed, what's her face?
Oh, yeah.
Wild Things?
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
in
I've
the
seen
theater.
Wild
Damn
Things.
right. Also, Luke, this co-main event, we did not get Chewy-wees on there, but we did get a David Martinez filling in on late notice without a Wikipedia page to take on a resurgent veteran in Rob Font, who was a firm betting favorite coming in. Yet the 27-year-old Martinez weathered the damage at times, outworked the veteran at times, and picked up a pretty significant win for this portion of his career. How impressed were you by his performance?
Extremely. Coming in on short notice against a guy who is, not in his prime, but very talented, well-rounded, tons of experience. Martinez looked fast. He had great movement. Font had a hard time finding him. I was, dude, this is his second fight in UFC?
Yeah.
And you're beating Rob Font at 27 years of age? Yeah, that's a prospect to pay attention to there, for sure.
Long Island Luke, we do appreciate your UFC knowledge. You're an undercard type guy, and this guy was.
Yeah, the more irrelevant the fighter, the more he likes
this
him.
guy was trying to get some relevance. What was your take on this performance?
All right, we got to mention the curtain jerker, the tough finale. Daniil Dunchenko got a nice finish on Rodrigo Cenzinato.
Yeah, we got to mention that.
Thank
really.
you for editorializing that moment.
Yeah,
but
someone told me on Thursday, they're like, on my live chat, they're like, do you realize there's an Ultimate Fighter finale? And I'm like, I had no.
Well, I'm not
fucking
asking you
idea.
to give me an undercard. I'm trying to say, with your undercard knowledge, Martinez stepping up and beating a guy like Font. Were you moved by this?
Oh, yeah, I was. The line was interesting here because Rob Font was like minus 150, and it just gradually kept getting lower. On fight night, David Martinez was plus 100 to Rob Font's like minus 120. So someone saw the value in David Martinez. Personally, I didn't. I took the over in this fight, which did hit. But, yeah, David Martinez looks damn good, dude. Like Luke said, only 2 UFC fights, too. I'm intrigued.
And by the way, Luke Thomas, Sean Shelby was tasked with getting on the mic and awarding the trophy to the Ultimate Fighter winner in the first
although
fight.
Hunter Campbell was there. I did see him in the audience.
Interesting. Would you like him to become more of a talking head for UFC, like at press conferences?
Why? They've already got Max Kellerman.
They've got David Shaw. I was saying for UFC.
They've already got Max Kellerman.
Well, he's kind of carrying the turkey and the TKO water at the same time.
Oh, brother. He looks like he's got enough to juggle.
Luke, speaking of carrying extra pounds, Kelvin Gastelum continued to miss weight and badly did it once more for it. You know how much I love Kelvin Gastelum, but that was at middleweight, not even welterweight, which he has a history of missing. I don't know if his heavyweight era is in front of him, but Luke, they took the fight anyway. He lost a percentage of his purse, but he still gave it to Dustin Stolfuse on the feet over 3 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
Nearly 30 fights into his UFC career, the weight issues continue to follow him. What should the UFC do with him? Because he's on like a little bit of a resurgence. He still can make fun fights. I feel like he's going to be age 32 or less forever. Every time we check his age, it's still not 35. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What should we do with this?
I don't really know. I'm not going to be one of these guys being like, oh, they should cut him. I feel weird saying that. But at the same time, I do think there are some issues, BC, because dude, I know he took the fight on relatively short notice, but don't take fights if you can't make weight, period. Sorry, just don't. That's the first thing I'm going to say. Like, doing it not making weight this far into your career is fucking insane. But the problem is, BC, he is good enough and talented enough to still beat some decent guys. But there's a problem there, too, which is his skill set was always pretty good, but somewhat limited in terms of, like, he wasn't going to submit you, and he probably wasn't going to head kick you. He's going to punch your lights out one way or the other, which he can still do. But I feel like that that the usefulness of that is still real, but starting to narrow a little bit.
I mean, he stopped evolving his game years ago.
Yeah. So it's like, is he still good enough to beat guys on the roster? Definitely.
Sure.
Definitely. But is he coming or going? I don't
How about a rematch with Izzy at light heavyweight? I mean, I'm kind of into that, you know.
Does he make the weight? I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know.
Talk to me about Alexander Hernandez, because ever since he lit up day drinking Daddy Don Cerrone, he's been sort of juggling 2 wins, 2 losses back and forth for a while now, still in his early 30s, but this makes it 4 straight as he finishes Carlos Diego Ferreira, who's now 40. He's a man. But the bigger story is, like, what happened here? I mean, he's always looked the part. Has he figured it out?
Yeah, I mean, the reality is he came onto the scene and he knocks out Beneil Dariush and he beats OAM, and you're like, oh my God, where the fuck does this guy come from? But then he came, to your point, crashing back down to earth. How about this?
And a lot of those were split decisions, though.
A lot of them are split, but that's the point. Like, they were neck and neck with guys, and he looked, you know, here were times he looked scared to throw, and he couldn't get out of his own way, and his defense looked bad. You know, now he has 4 wins in a row, 3 in 2025, and then 2 back-to-back months. This is the best stretch of his career. Dude, his skill set has finally come together. He has good movement. He doesn't put himself in defensively liable positions in the same way that he used to. He knows how did he drop this guy with a punch coming in, which he timed and was ready for. Like, dude, he's got a lot of stuff, not everything, of course, but he's got a lot figured out. It took a long time for his game to gel, but I think it finally has, and the results kind of speak to that.
We got some sound here from Alexander Hernandez on who he wants next. This would be a big one.
This would be a big one.
You called out Michael Chandler. If Michael Chandler is going to see this, I'm going to put this out there. What would you like to say to Michael Chandler to try and get him to, you know, get a fish on the line type thing?
No, nothing, man. I think it's a juicy fight. I think he'll bite on it. I love it. It's an exciting fight for the fans. I mean, it's a sick fight. It's a good time for it to happen too. So I think he's about it.
You don't need too much. Just, hey, man, sign on the dotted line.
That's exactly what it is, bro. We've both been in this game long enough, man. I got to sell nothing sweet.
Is this still a big fight to have Chandler against you? Is that still a big thing?
It would be for him. Yes. Okay. I don't think that would be. I don't think that would. That's not a. Yeah, that's a good fight for him. For sure.
All right. I was keying in here on Tatiana Suarez coming off of that really bad one-sided title opportunity against Zhang Weili, taking on 38-year-old Amanda Lemos. And it would go down as a unanimous decision for Tatiana, who had a lot of standing clinch control, ground control. We know that wrestling is her game. Unfortunately for her, though, she did get a little bit beat up in that final minute where Lemos got top position and was raining down strikes. Look, this division is not deep. I mean, Dern could be the champion next. So Tatiana could be one more win away from fighting for the title for all we know. But Tatiana's not young, and we've been waiting for this sort of breakout moment where the injuries are behind her and it comes together. Did you see enough on the feet that puts that title loss behind her, or was this sort of just a matchup-dependent win? She got the job done.
If anything, it made me think of the same problems. I mean, she won. Okay, that's good. That's definitely better than losing. But I mean, there's a couple. I mean, the basic problem is this. When she first got into the division, BC, they were calling her the female Khabib.
Yes.
And you might be like, oh, they clearly were overestimating. Well, in a sense, yes. But at the time, it didn't feel all that crazy. She was mauling these people.
She was great at tough. She came through that like
I think
nothing.
The injuries and the time off and the age, as well as the general best practices of MMA getting better defensively. Like, it's harder to wrestle people now than it used to be. But also the age, also the injuries, also the time off. I think it has irreparably damaged her. She's still good enough to win, and she seems like a lovely person. So I feel bad saying some of this stuff, but I'm just trying to be honest about the assessment. She got the win. She deserved the win, but I didn't see anything from this being like, oh, it was kind of fluky what happened against Zhang Weili.
I don't see enough evolution of the striking.
But more than that, the evolution in the wrestling isn't there either. Like her wrestling, if anything, has kind of regressed.
I mean, she still could win a title in the right matchup by leaning into her strengths. I don't think that's impossible to say.
Now that the former champ is now gone, yes, it opens things up. But would there be a dominant reign? I just don't see that.
Right. Did anything else on this card, top to bottom, move you? Because I want Long Island Luke's thoughts, because he cares.
I want to move it. I'm going to say that I don't know why Cedric Dumas is still on the fucking roster.
Bro, his right ball was hurting, as he told the referee.
I mean, the guy gets kicked in the balls. Granted, it was a pretty bad one. He has to convince a judge to take an ankle monitor off due to the alleged crimes he's committed. Gets in there, gets kicked in the balls 51 seconds into the fight, and then they waive it. What the fuck was the point of any of that? Why was he on this card? Why is he in the UFC? It makes no sense whatsoever. Beyond that, though, I leave the rest to Long Island Luke.
Yeah, Long
who
Island.
hates
What do
his
you got
girlfriend.
for us,
Oh,
please?
no, I love my girlfriend. I just want to say the card itself, great pacing, dude. They had 8
The pacing was
prelims-
insane.
8
Yes.
prelims in only 3 hours, which is usually like 6 fights.
Was that a
So,
message from the top to not bump into the Netflix card?
Yes and no. I think
Had to be.
I think they just packed the prelims tight, so they had to really run through those. Then I think yes, BC on the main card, they were like, keep this shit going quick.
Yeah.
But either way, it just felt like a fight was ending. Next fight was in there, so I enjoyed my time. But the card itself, you know, are we going to come out of this with any new prospects? Not so much. David Martinez, that's about it.
Wow, that was very succinct and
Yeah.
you know, point. Wow, okay, that's your 5 topics right there. Well, I did want to tell you folks though that this podcast is also sponsored by Total Wireless, the official wireless partner of the UFC. Come on, when you're streaming the fight and sharing those takedown highlights with your best bros, what you need is a wireless provider that keeps you close to the action and in the fight. Total Wireless has you covered with the Verizon 5G network, so you don't have to worry about your connection being KO'd at the biggest moments. And you want someone that has your back, just like a fighter that makes it to the top? That's Total Wireless. They are in your corner. How much? How about them keeping you covered for just $25 a month with 4 lines without sacrificing essential things like speed, all right? With Total, you get the unlimited 5G data so you can stay ahead of the action and keep up with every KO. Total Wireless also understands that you can't avoid surprise blows that you don't see coming. That's why they will guarantee that price for 5 years, taxes and fees included. The best fighters don't make it to the top without that all-in support, whether we're talking about the Octagon or you in your regular life. It shouldn't be the same for your wireless provider. So visit TotalWireless.com or visit your Total Wireless local store today to learn more about how Total Wireless can be in your corner. 5G access requires a 5G-capable device and a 5G service area. Monthly rate on the Total Base 5G Unlimited plan for new subscribers applies only to the monthly rate for your plan. Additional terms apply. See the website for details. Yeah, right? Well, I don't know why I'm that happy. Okay, hey, it's time for the fans to have a voice. Luke, every Sunday night we give you that option at Morning Kombat on X and Instagram. Well, let me guess. Flannels and Jits, Telvin Keepop. Who else you got? Anybody else? A man and his cat. I like that guy,
I don't
too.
know.
Yeah, Luke's like, I hope they all die. Hey, here's DMs from Donks. That's pretty gross, guys. That's pretty gross. Let's hear from our first willing participant. This is
Crescenzo Fano.
Crescenzo Fano says, was Saturday the best combo of UFC and boxing fights held on one night ever? No.
No, I don't think
I mean,
so.
it was the way it was presented was great because there was no overlap. So it was like, oh, we get to watch this and then watch this. But we've seen a lot of head-to-head stuff in the past. Just how about the Sphere Noche card up against Canelo Berlanga, which I'm not saying was like the most wildly anticipated fight ever, but it was still Canelo on, you know,
Also
Mexican.
Canelo and then the Diaz and Masvidal card as well.
That
too.
also, yeah, Canelo Kovalev, and then DAZN made that
Crawford
decision.
Spence was the same night as Gaethje, BMF, Dustin
That's right.
Poirier.
That's a sick ass night.
That's
Holy
right.
shit. Yeah, that's got to be your answer, at least my immediate
Also,
recollection.
Pacquiao Marquez 3 was the same night as the UFC on Fox debut with JDS versus Kane for the
That's right.
heavyweight title.
That's right.
But that was also the Fox card ended just early enough before
Right.
the pay-per-view.
Yeah, something like that. But there's been a bunch of them, to your point.
Yeah, good question. Good question.
Yeah, very
Hopefully
good
we gave you a good answer. Let's hear from our next from @Soul619. Hey, what does Mysterio say?
Hmm?
Rey Mysterio?
How the fuck would I know?
How does that song go? How's the song go, Nosita?
Lick my balls.
I
Lick
don't know
my
shit
balls.
about that.
All right.
I got lick my
619.
balls.
Yeah, okay. Have the fighting nerds officially been exposed, or will they rebound and still have title aspirations? They would further ask here, Soul619. Booyaka 619. That's where I was going with that. Boy, I look like an asshole. Is Gian Silva still the most likely to get a title shot, or is it Caio Borralho, Mauricio Hufi, Carlos Prates? It's got to be Prates.
People were asking, like, who had the worst loss of these four? And I don't know how anyone can say the answer is anything other than Hufi. Because did Jayon Silva get beat up real bad in this fight? Yes, and in particular in that first round. But then he kind of came back in the last minute of the first round and then was doing real well in the second round. Hufi didn't do shit against BSD. Clearly his is the worst, even though he didn't get beat up as bad. Caio at least made it to a #1 contender fight. That's something.
Mm-hmm.
Prates has already rebounded from a loss. Looked pretty good doing it.
What about Bruna Brazil? Long Island thinks she's part of the fight.
She is. women's MMA is in a tough spot. I'm not, what do you want me to tell you? And then Oleg Shashik is on the rebound, but he hasn't got like a super pronounced win at this point against a big name. So I would say I still have some hope for Silva, but these fuckers need to get it together.
I mean, Pratesh is peaking, I guess you could say, off that win. He's sort of pointing forward above all of them.
He certainly looked real good in the rebound. I'll say that.
Yeah, okay. Like you on the train when you're crowning, he's the guy that's like sticking out.
I did not take a dump on the train today.
I don't want to talk about that anymore. Next question, please, from the fans. This is the MMA poster
You
king.
ever rubbed one out on an airplane?
Okay, why? Why are we doing this? Where does Tatiana Suarez go from here? Now, we did talk about her victory and sort of the limitations. She's 35 later this year.
I mean,
but to be fair, I think she needs one more win. Imagine a scenario where either Verna or Dern wins. She's in that fight, right?
Yeah, I think with the champ leaving and what's left, if I'm her, I did not look at the win at Lemos as particularly inspiring.
Yes.
But it's a win. And she's still a name. And there's still some relevance there. Keep going. See if you can get another title shot. It's not out of the realm of possibility.
Long Island Luke, I know I'm normally the strawweight guy, but there really hasn't been a lot of business at strawweight in a while. Is there like a rising future title contender or champion that we don't talk about?
Bro, no, dude. Women's MMA is
If she doesn't get a title shot, she's fighting the loser. She's fighting Jan Jonan.
Why is women's MMA in such bad shape?
Somebody should do an expose.
There used to be a big difference. We'd be like, women's MMA is so much better than women's boxing. Women's MMA is regressing to women's boxing.
You're right. I don't know. I really don't know what the answer is because what made it, I'm just like looking back, considering how toxic the MMA world is, MMA fans like attached to women's MMA right away and said, no, this is good. This is really good.
Yeah.
It wasn't just for like sexualized reasons. Like you had a big star in Ronda. You had really competitive fights that were fought hard, even with the lack of finishes compared to the men's game. Like there were elite fighters and you could see that. That is going down.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's in bad shape.
Maybe is it only because there was 2 divisions back then? Now there's 4, I guess 3.
Maybe. I don't know.
Next question, please. This is from at TVGC MMA. What's your fondest memories of Ricky Hatton?
Oh man.
Oh, I forgot. I was supposed to bring that up earlier.
All right.
A really tough loss that came pretty soon after the Crawford victory over Canelo to find out that 46-year-old. I don't know if is he in the Hall of Fame?
Ricky? I'm not sure he will be if he's not.
Ricky Hatton, who of course rose, beating Kostya on Showtime in England for the title, and then rising from there to go into super fights with Floyd, with Pacquiao, in which he was stopped in both of those.
He is in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, he is in the Hall of Fame. Would retire. I remember like his Hall of Fame thing was, I guess, somewhat borderline based on the resume, but then you look at the impact he had and. Getting himself into those super fights with Floyd and Manny. He was such a joyful, vibrant personality. Remember when HBO 24/7 was so young and those episodes with him and Floyd were just hilarious because he didn't take himself or the situation overly serious.
There's a famous story of him. It's not about him per se, but just kind of told you about the energy around Hatton. Was that when Hatton fought Mayweather, the Brits traveled to support him, and they drank the MGM dry of alcohol.
Yes.
That's a real thing that happened.
Kieran Mulvaney always relays that story. It happened at like Thursday afternoon or Friday morning of fight.
They drank that fucker dry.
Every single restaurant and provider they were out. They were
out.
Waiting on the delivery.
I mean, you got to say, like, dude, you got a real fan base when they can do something like that.
And I think he was the poster boy for that fan base, not just because his style was all about aggression, fast pace, throw as many punches, wasn't a big puncher, but
he was a true Manchester guy, yeah.
And lived the lifestyle of, honest, hard worker, guy that liked to drink, liked to party.
Blue collar.
I don't think we know what happened to him at this point.
Doesn't seem great, but we don't know.
Doesn't seem great. His son Campbell had been fighting for a while, and I think he just stopped fighting as well. But he leaves. He's a Hall of Famer. First of all, he's one of the most beloved fighters. Second of all, and I think anyone that just watched him, from his fighting style to the way he carried himself, he was relatable. He was enjoyable. He was joyful. This is a really sad thing that sort of snuck in at a time when we're talking up Terrence Crawford and all this, rightfully so. And we didn't even get into Inoue. Naoya Inoue defending his championships on Sunday, but it aired on Top Rank's Facebook page.
What the fuck?
And he fought a really tough opponent in Muradjan Akhmadaliev, MJ, the former unified champion, and he outboxed him thoroughly over 12 rounds, and maybe shows you that at his age, I don't know if Inoue should go to 126, but there's going to be big fights coming. Junto Nakatani is moving up. Inoue is supposed to be back in December against David Allen Picasso, with Junto Nakatani making his debut at 122 on the undercard.
Yeah, so one more, and then they could make the
and then
Nakatani
could Bam
showdown.
Rodriguez show up soon after that for a big fight? We'll see. But it's not like we're trying to avoid Naoya Inoue, but they kind of buried this fight, from an American standpoint, as low as possible in light of Canelo Crawford. It's unfortunate, but it's true. Right? We love Inoue. He's one of the best in the world and the era.
Again, very, very strange. So you always get like Bud and Inoue performing on similar weekends.
Sure. All right. What else we got here from the fans? This is from at MT Booble. One has to go. Well, this is tough. 90s rap or 70s rock?
So, I mean, for folks who might be asking, like, what would count as 70s rock? Led Zeppelin?
I think in totality, the 1970s, Led Zeppelin, Rolling Stones,
David Bowie,
progressive rock, jazz fusion, David Bowie. Like there was so much going on in the 70s that the more I unwrap it in my vinyl journey, I am just blown away.
Also, the movies of the 1970s are some of the best movies ever made.
Neo-noir. Daniel Snyder's nephew and I have been going through the 70s neo-noir library for
Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon, 1974.
Dude, I just watched, what 70s movie did I watch the other day? Oh, actually, it's an early 80s movie, but it's of that 70s motif. It's Thief, starring James Caan. Just such a gritty, thank you. It's so, oh God.
James Caan was a beast.
Yes, and then I saw Jaws for the first time in 3D in the theater
That's
with
79?
my son. That was like 76 or 75, and I just didn't know how awesome that one was.
Yeah. So, all right, 90s hip-hop, getting rid of that seems unfathomable to me, right? Biggie, Jay-Z, Nas, Busta Rhymes, Tribe, Dre, Snoop, Easy. I mean, and even before that, Rakim. I mean, I don't even know, Cypress Hill. Like, foundational acts of hip-hop. Big Pun. I could go on and on.
I mean, that was the decade that really, it started in the 80s, but the 90s made it not only commercial, but you start to see like the true craft legends of it come out, as you mentioned. It depends upon preference. I'm more of a rock guy than I'm a rap guy, so I'm going to let 90s rap go. But 90s hip hop was the absolute mountaintop peak, from Nas to Biggie to Tupac to Public Enemy in the beginning through Wu-Tang. I mean, good Jay-Z.
I'll just say personally, losing 70s rock would be slightly easier, but even that is a troublesome claim.
Yeah, but luckily they didn't put, 2010's abortion rock in here. That would have been a tough.
If you did tug one out on a plane, would you count that as the Mile High Club?
This is the Mile.
Would you count it?
No, maybe the Half Mile Club, maybe that, but no, I'm not looking to enter any of those clubs there. That's it, Long Island. Look, right, enough of that shit. Speaking of shit, right? We good?
Yeah, that's it.
All right, thank
if
you
you've
to the
got
fans.
Cake Lady today, I'm going to jump across this table.
No Cake Lady, but you can reach the show, by the way, at morningcombat@gmail.com, although we had a special live. Hey, shout out to our live episode on Friday that we had.
It was fun.
That was really fun. I know it was only an hour, but that was really fun. Thank you guys. It felt like old times on the road, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you're like, I'm done with the show already. All right, morningcombat@gmail.com. Get your fan subs, get your dead wrongs on Friday. The final segment we have is where we pick through the kernels of my fecal area to find the weirdest, wildest, and outrageous videos of the week in an effort to make Luke Thomas emote. This is called Have You Seen This Shit? Hoo-ah! That sounds like Al Pacino in Son of a Woman, right?
Hoo-ah!
Yeah, all right. That's how you debate, right? That was that scene at the end of this.
Yeah, that's sick.
All right, hey, let's go to Canelo Crawford in Vegas. All the stars were out. Who did Canelo have in his locker room? Luke's dream. Sofia Vergara came in and embraced. What do you think Mrs. Canelo in the background is thinking here?
Get this. Get this harlot out of my sight.
What do you think Canelo was thinking right there? Call me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jamame.
Bud would not be outdone. How about the Bayou Barbie? Angel Reese coming in. Now the height difference was massive here, but
but the one next to her is the next baddie. That one. Oh, you can't see on this angle. But it's actually the friend that Angel Reese introduces. She was the
Angel Reese is also a very attractive lady as well. So a lot of star power there. We also had Mike Tyson, Mr. Beast, and Turkey going through shenanigans to promote the fight. This was during the undercard.
I want to be clear one more time. I don't need to hear or see Turkey ever.
Well, he's everywhere. He's on everything, Luke, okay? You cannot avoid him.
It's like no part of the broadcast is improved with his inclusion.
Yeah, he's very heavy-handed in his choices as well, Luke. He's something. Also, Turkey's new innovation, the AI ring judge, scored the fight on Saturday. 114 to 114, Luke, a draw.
It's like, dude, by the way, people think that this is the Jabber AI thing that they used previously. It is not.
No.
It is their own proprietary thing.
This is why I hate AI. Okay,
The Jabber one had Terrence winning. So
the Jabberwockies?
Yeah, the Jabberwockies.
Turkey also put out a tweet shouting out good old Versace Rick Reno, looking like...
Bro, tell me this doesn't look like a little kid that got dressed by his dad, and his dad wanted his little kid to be a pimp for Halloween.
Good Lord.
Rick, buddy, we love you. You seem like a very nice guy. I don't know you. You're not cool. I hope
wow.
You're not. This doesn't make you cool. BC, here's the truth about that. I'm also not cool.
Yeah, I mean, he's playing a character, but it's outrageous. I mean, he looks like Liberace and Joe Goossen's love child in that outfit, right? It's like there's a lot of denim. There's some bedazzling going on.
Just go. If you can wear that again, Rick, if you're going to go trick or treating. But other than that, you got to let it go, bud.
That's the only time Turkey's humor is actually funny, when he's like putting out tweets like that. Like, we got to have a discussion about old Versace.
Okay, all right, I agree with that.
Yeah,
yes,
but all the fighters always try to be like, no, Turkey's really cool. He's funny. Turkey, they're not here to hang out with you like you think they are. Okay.
You think Turkey? Okay, you know what? I don't want to get in too much trouble, but we'll leave it at that.
Why on American soil?
It's not even that. It's just about, people are sensitive these days.
They are very sensitive. All right. Hey, elsewhere, in MMA, LFA main event, Gable Steveson made his pro debut, and he didn't need long. This is shot from the crowd, not the broadcast, of course. John Jones in his corner.
Yeah, John making it all about him.
Celebrating. So Gable got basically an instant takedown. It didn't take long. And then,
well, he is an Olympic gold medalist and national champion in wrestling, so I can't imagine that the guy that they had against him was all that ready for the challenges.
Do you think Gable...
I'm so glad to see his turf toe cleared up so fast, because he had the turf toe and he couldn't do the Craig Jones Invitational, but all of a sudden he looked great to me. So I'm really happy that turf toe went away so fast.
Will Gable be making his UFC debut at the White House? Will he get the Bo Nichols treatment of just like sped up matchmaking? Or do you think
he does?
He will need 2, 3? We had this debate before in a different segment, but we don't know how good he is. But I mean, there was ease in which he did that.
Yeah,
it was heavy ground and pound, but he was fighting the guy that makes your sandwiches at Subway.
Yeah,
right?
He was fighting definitely a sandwich artist.
Okay.
So he was a mixed martial artist fighting a sandwich artist.
And most of those sandwich artists, or at least Jared, is known for really bad search history.
I mean, sandwich artists are nice people. Do they make delicious food? Be
Luke,
nice.
Let's check in on pro football. All right. The green dildos have hit the NFL. I repeat, the WNBA green dildos.
At first I thought this was like some terrible thing that they were throwing the green dildos on the WNBA court. It was like, this is some kind of anti-woman thing.
Yeah.
But it's a crypto scam that they use for crypto advertising. So now they're just throwing it everywhere. It's not even just WNBA.
Well, this weekend it happened a second time, but check out this dude trying to. Okay, sir, can you please?
This is BC trying to pack his luggage.
Can you please pull up those pants, sir? I didn't need to see all it. Crack kills, all right? And now for your NFL over-the-shoulder move of the week, watch this.
You know what?
Okay, well,
you know what? I've been caught a time or two doing that. I'm not going to hate on this gentleman.
That guy's like, damn.
Yeah,
wow.
I've done that too, friend. I've
all
been there.
Right. We only have one piece of elder abuse this week, and it came via the sport of soccer, a little footy action. Nice moves right there.
Doesn't look like Messi.
Oh, God. Okay.
Take that.
Grandma did not deserve that. Hey, this oh, abuela, sorry. This week in Marab, Luke, Noche Marab was on the scene in San Antonio, dressed just like the people. Look at that. He saw it. Dude, he's like...
This is from the last Noche.
It is?
Oh, it is.
Oh, all right.
Read the lower. He's still the #1 contender.
Shouldn't he be the... Say, I got fooled. I got MMA Sentel again.
He fought at the last Noche.
Yeah, you're right. This is
2 Noches ago? I don't know.
All right.
You're right. It must be 2. Yeah, last fight, Henry Cejudo. Okay, I got fooled. But with that said, he should be the UFC's mascot. Isn't he hilarious?
Hilarious is a strong word, but he's certainly animated.
All right, here is him from this Noche when he went full lucha libre. He's in fight shape.
He is the definition of extra. You know what I mean?
Okay, well, here's Marab and his friends playing a new sport called rock baseball. Your thoughts, Luke?
Filming.
I don't think this is a good game.
What are we doing here?
My name's Marab, and I hit dingers.
Good job. Take him down. Nice. Elbow.
Maybe that's good training.
Nice. Double jab. Nice. Knee. Choke. Yeah. Yeah, motherfucker. Yeah, motherfucker.
He's extra, bro. He's in a good way, but he's extra.
There were more MMA fighters in the wild. I think this is filmed in Connecticut. Here's Sean Strickland getting a little chama grill with Glover and Pereira.
Chama ou não chama? Ei, Glovão. O cara disse que ia fazer churrasco bom pra nós aí, hã?
Porra. From Texas, From Texas. He's a steakhouse. Yeah, bro. I'm real bad, guys. Real bad here.
Chama. Tá bom?
Chama.
I mean, I don't know. Like, is there any part of you that is like says maybe if you had to hang with Strickland by the grill that you would like laugh and have an okay time, or no?
People of different varieties can have common ground breaking bread. I'll say that.
Okay. We went jacked up this week, but not on the NFL pitch. Let's go to college. Here's LSU coach Brian Kelly in the Florida game. Okay, wow, that is, sir, you got jacked up. That is.
It wasn't even that bad.
Yeah, that'll hurt. He'll feel that in the morning.
He'll feel that because he's ancient, probably.
You sent me this video from Newark, New Jersey. New Bond villain has been unlocked. They call him the Newark Samurai.
The shit you see, you fucking up. You got a motherfucking samurai. Hold up. Look at this shit here. Can't make this shit the fuck up, bro.
Dude, that's the most Newark thing ever.
Dude, that guy needs to patrol at Newark Penn Station.
Oh, my
Just
Lord.
clean up over there, all right? Wow. Let's go over to the airplane edibles. Luke knows about this. In fact, Luke sent me this video. Luke, you're showing up twice on here. Look at this guy. Flying high already.
Yo,
wow.
my man.
Wow.
That is flying on Delta in row 9, motherfucker. Whoa. Show that one more time. Look at him just chewing like a cow with his mouth open. Look at this.
Flying high
look at this.
again.
Zooted, bro.
Come on and Zooted. Yeah, throw back a bottle of beer on that one. Zoot Suit Riot. Hey, let's go over to the They got carny workers, Luke. You got carny workers. Watch the gentleman working this event. Be careful.
Yeah, right in the pills, brother.
Wow.
Right in the pills.
Do you think that's the worst job you can have, to be like a traveling carny? Is that like the lowest of lows where you're still employed, you have a place to live on the road, but like, what's that lifestyle like?
Yeah, I mean, and plus you're not making that much.
That's rough. Okay. This week in vehicular manslaughter, let's go to this race.
Oh, Christ. Oh, Jesus.
All gas, no brakes. Oh, my God.
Jesus.
Wow. Drive fast, all gas on that one, right? That looked
skits and bits.
That looked worse than the land mooning. You know what I mean?
Okay,
I mean, if that even happened, right? That must. Yeah. All right.
All
okay.
right.
All right. Time for your T-shirts of the week here, Luke. I mean, relatable, right?
Torta Pounder 69. That's a classy fella.
Okay. All right. Let's go over to Ted Lasso over here. Great show. Better T-shirt.
Fixing to lasso that asso.
Lasso. Okay. We'll keep it going here, Luke. Let's go over to DJ. All right.
Osama Spin Laden. He's a DJ. That's not bad.
All right. And here's the best shirt of the weekend, Luke. I'd love to see you in this one.
Theo Vaughn ate my ass in an Arby's parking lot. You know, there is a lot of sin that goes down in an Arby's parking lot.
Yes. It can't be as fun as these jerseys of the week, though. What a great segment I put together here. Would you wear this, Luke?
COVID-19. That's a certain commitment to the bit.
All right. Here comes a great Nightmare Blunt rotation. Would you hang out with these guys?
Ray Lewis, Aaron Hernandez, and O.J. Simpson. No, you know what? I don't know if I'm making it out of that room alive.
All right. Here's the best jersey we found this week. You know, it was, never forget. Luke.
Never forget 9/11.
That is something.
There's a lot going on there.
Look, you ever see like an old 80s toy or piece of, something that just triggers all this like nostalgia that you never,
of course,
like you forgot was there? This happened to me for this phone. Check it out.
Guys, I have to show you what I got today. Ka-chow. Are you kidding me? And when you pick up the phone, look at he wakes up. Isn't that so cool?
Yeah.
They hit the second tower.
Very nostalgic, Luke. Very nostalgic. All right.
It's amazing to me that, like, I'm not that I'm in any way prescribing it or condoning it, but like people, talking about the death of Charlie Kirk, people get very sensitive.
Yes.
And that's how it was after 9/11. You could not make jokes about it, but now you can just joke about 9/11.
I mean, it's very insensitive, but I'm just trying to show you the
people
videos
just joke
that
about
people are
9/11
talking
now.
about right now. Speaking of New York City, it is a lot like regional MMA, right?
Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. Let's go to the Subway. This is what we're going to see in a few moments, Luke.
Brother, look at the Parmesan cheese she's grating over your plate of spaghetti. How much to eat a little piece of that skin?
Oh, my God. That's disgusting. That is so disgusting. Let's go over
Bro,
to
what the fuck?
I don't know. Let's go to the highway. I have to say I've done this before. Yep. All right. There is. That's not the highway. That's Midtown Manhattan. Right
Oh,
there.
yeah,
God.
brother.
Yeah. Have another one there. All right. Okay.
Hell yeah.
Let's keep it going here. You
fucking
want to
love
run
New
in the
York.
streets in New York? You got to be careful.
I'm feeling good.
I wish you heart.
That's right.
Yeah, I used to run track. Now I smoke crack.
That's a New Yorker if I've ever seen one.
All right. Would you ever have a blind date with a girl named Katrina, Luke?
I don't like where this is going.
What's your name?
My name's Katrina.
Nice, like the hurricane. R.I.P. all those people. What?
My parents were going to name me 9/11, but...
You could check out this third tower, huh?
Ooh, okay.
Sweet.
I'll just be a plane.
Okay, all right. This is we need sensors on this show, clearly.
Where's a drive-by shooter when you need one?
All right, I got one more for you, Luke. Let's check this out.
Good morning. Would you like some tea?
Oh my God.
That's what the people are talking about on the internet this week. I hope you saw it, Luke.
Oh my.
I mean, one bag or two, Luke. I mean, just...
Oh, it's revolt.
Yeah. The internet wins again. That is our show for the week. Wow.
I'm literally traumatized by that. I've seen some traumatic things in the last week. I'm sure you have as well.
Yeah.
That might be the worst. I don't know, but that might be the worst.
All right, that's all we got here. So buy our merch.
I need a shower.
At morningcombat.shop. Our exclusives will be available till they won't.
Oh my
so
God.
check it out, from black liver to
how did that make it past
crack.
the North Korean censors?
I don't know if they work here anymore, Luke, to be fair. All right. You can get an autographed poster of the TMNT. These are exclusive. They won't be here forever. Please jump in now and get it. It supports the show. It goes directly in the pockets of BCLT and the LIL. Also, we got evergreen items on there. You already know that. Morningcombat@gmail.com is how you reach the show. You already know that. You can like and subscribe here. Please, if you've been on this journey for a while, give us a like, give us a subscription, tell a friend, spread it. All right. And support our YouTube channels as well. Long Island Luke, what do you have to say for your YouTube channel this week?
Nothing going on really this week. I was supposed to work yesterday, so I'm not doing a Contender Series stream tomorrow. Gaff is, though, so go check that out. And then
what's Gaff's channel called?
XFC this weekend. I'm going to Vegas to commentate.
Nice.
Hell yeah, Luke. What day? Friday or Saturday?
Saturday. I think the main card starts at 9 p.m. It'll be on BN Sport. Yeah.
All right.
I think that's right.
I think you can also watch it on YouTube, but you have to pay.
Yes, you can watch it if you become like a member of the XFC YouTube channel.
Okay.
I'll tweet out all the ways to watch.
You and Johnny
LaQuasto, yeah.
Yes,
and I
that's
think
okay.
Jessica Aguilar is going to be there as well.
We go. Could be a great team right there. Long Island Luke, what's Gaff's channel?
One More Round Fight, so go check that out.
Check out Gaffney Jim Pierre, a
And
longtime
then,
supporter of the show.
We'll have a new episode, Prop Quiz Friday, to find out who faces BC
So
in
Luke,
the final.
did you see the episode that I took? It's like an accidental win. I accidentally beat Mike Heck.
You did?
I did, and I was on the way. If I could have remembered who was Justine Kish's opponent when she shit her pants, and I'm like seeing Felice Herrig the whole time.
It was Felice Herrig?
Yeah, and I just couldn't come up with a name because I'm old. I would have actually blown him out, but I did it.
You are a formidable competitor.
Thank you very much. Some people are wondering if I can win this whole thing now.
I'm not going to count you out. You know, I'm always going to root for the guy that beat me, so I got to go for you.
Thank you very much. Unless it was, non-consensual, then I don't know if you're still cheering for that guy. All right. Hey, that's the show for the week for LT. It's BC.
I cannot believe that old lady with the tea. That is the worst thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. Hey, thank you to our guys filling in for Ken and Nadir today as well. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Do you think they have marijuana in their system?
I hope so. Maybe we can get a close contact high. That's the show. Take care of yourselves. We're out of here.